What's up, nerds? Welcome to Radio Free Hammer Hall. It's been a little while. We're doing some WarHAMMERED. We want to do a meta review tonight of AOS 2.0, our predictions, our state of the meta, our general thoughts on all the allegiances and stuff that are out there. Rob, the Honest Wargamer, just did something similar. I thought it was a cool idea. I wanted to bring a bunch of other fine minds from the Warhammer community together to talk about it. Unfortunately, none of them are available, so I have all of these guys.
Cleanup crew.
Yeah, so we got a couple of new guys in the mix that have not been on the channel before. We have our usual suspects. We got Daka Dez. We got Tom Lyons from Warhammer Weekly, and occasionally his own channel when he decides to make a video once a year.
Hi, friends.
We got Maroc, who is getting very cold in Canada already.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, Joe, a.k.a. Haywo Twitch, on the stream.
Yo.
And Brian from Masterpiece Miniatures, also here joining us this evening. So, gentlemen, I know I've explained to you what we're doing. Just for the audience, so they know what's going on, we're going to go through all of the different allegiances that are currently available and kind of give them just like a 1 through 3 score, like a 3 being like armies that are going to be like consistently top tables at big tournaments, probably going to be your typical groups of people that are going to be winning the big tournaments most consistently. 2s are the pretty solid middle table contenders, might have a good chance at ending up on a top table if you're doing pretty well that day. Might get occasional, fluky win. And then the 1s are the guys that just kind of suck. And if you win a tournament with them, something very strange happened. Or maybe you're just in Australia. Or at Nova, or, whatever weird thing happened to be going on that day. So, yeah, we're going to go through it. I'm actually going to be putting together a spreadsheet so then we can have some metadata after, and we can go through lots and lots of information. So I'm just going to kind of go over.
Your numbers. You can check your math with the actual scene as it unfolds in the coming months.
Yes. And I can also then, after this, analyze the data and control for anybody that, happens to be answering like 3 for everything, or 1s for everything, or anything like that. And then we can also look at analysis for, there's been some talk of power creep with new books. So I've kind of identified what's like new books since AOS 2.0, the AOS 1.0 books, and then stuff that's such like General's Handbook. Just to, we can do some analysis on if the power creep claims seem to actually be accurate based on what we're talking about. At least the opinions of this fine group of, 6 of us that are sitting here.
Lots.
Yes, lots of us, and most of us with lots of alcohol in our systems. I'm also just in a really don't give a fuck kind of a mood right now, so this might be a little bit more colorful than usual, eh? All right, so are we good to go, everybody? Are we prepared to give 0 fucks? Also, the other thing that I wanted to throw in here that we are going to be talking about, something that Josh from Masterpiece Miniatures had brought up to me a while ago, was the concept of gatekeeper armies. That is like armies that are like, they're not necessarily like top tier armies, but they do something really skewy that really prevents certain armies from winning. Like a good example would be like Free Guild gunline armies are not really that strong overall, but like they're gonna give like Iron Jaws and Daughters of Cain and other armies that just want to like run across the field and beat you in the face immediately. They're just gonna light them up and blow the army off the field. That's the general concept. Those armies
that's gonna phase Daughters of Cain.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm just giving examples.
All right, sorry.
Oh my God, I'm giving examples.
I wanted to know if Free People's was the kryptonite to DFA, like you seem to be implying there. I don't know.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are. And you know, there's not enough people out there that are going to paint 200 models to find out. So we will see. Perhaps, maybe some Australian will do that for us and take care of that. So we get the rules. Are we ready to go?
Sure.
Yes.
Everybody good?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So just begin on a fairly general note. Grand Alliance order. Just a generic mixed order. Nothing, no particular combinations or emphasis. Leaving out the things that are basically like allegiances that just don't have allegiance abilities of their own. So like excluding Swifthawk agents, for example.
Fuck you.
Swifthawk agents get their own category, Tom. Quit your bitching.
They can be okay. It's just they're not sold anymore. That's the problem with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we including armies that aren't sold anymore?
Anything that is that
I have an entire army right there.
Yeah.
There's like 4 chariots. There's like 30 shadow warriors. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. As soon as you get all those painted and on round bases, and
shut your damn mouth.
All right, so Grand Alliance order. Overall, I think my personal thought is like there's a couple of lists and a couple of players that do it really well. I don't think that there's enough people doing it consistently enough to really give it a 3. So personally, I would put it at a 2. Des, what do you think?
2. Definitely 2. I'm looking at it now. I don't see anything great.
Yeah. Tom, what do you think?
3.
Bold choice, Cotton. We'll see how it turns out for him. Brian, what do you think?
2.5.
No fractions. Commit.
I would say it because the problem is you get weird things happening in tournaments when somebody comes in with 2 Frost Phoenixes and takes it.
Only 2.
But the just GA order for most people, I would say 2.
I mean, are we evaluating like the average Joe taking this, or top, like assuming like top tournament capability players taking optimized lists?
It's got to be idealized, like an ideal list with equal skill, right?
Yeah.
We really are talking about Phoenix spam and stuff like that. You know,
Right. We're talking about Phoenix spam. We're talking about
we're not talking about Order Serpentis and Darkling Covens, you know, together at last.
I mean, I would say highly competent players with highly competent lists.
All right, then I'll bump it up to a 3 too.
Absolutely 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's it, then 3.
Yep.
The representation is very low, and you know, maybe the only people doing it, you know, are amazing, but yeah, 3.
I mean, I took it to my local scene and won a couple weeks ago, like a mixed order.
Local scene. I've won a local tournament. That doesn't say anything about local tournaments.
Sure. Yeah, I know it's anecdotal.
It is. I took a mixed order. Like, what I'll say is this: I took mixed order at Acon last year, took 7th with it, and I took a modified, updated 2.0 list, and I took a local tournament out with it. And what I would say is that the capability in a list like that, like no one does mixed allegiance better than order.
Yep.
Here's the thing with
mixed
order has just too much stuff. Like there's too many good things in the one faction for you to just cherry pick from. And you have a greater ability to just cherry pick like your one hero and your one unit. And those 2 things make the synergies to make that unit and or hero good. So there's just too many different combinations in order, and that's why I feel it is also a 3. Like it's just.
Oh, and in 2nd edition, where you can play, you know, where you can get Wildwoods in Grand Alliance order now,
Oh yeah.
A lot of the Allegiance abilities can kind of bleed into GA. Yeah, I think I would say 3. I think my mixed order is pretty good. So.
Yep.
All right. So as far as this being a gatekeeper, personally, I think it's not really a gatekeeper of any type. I think it's
because nobody plays it, and so you're just never gonna play against it. So you don't have to worry about it for the most.
But it may pop up, and it's going to surprise you. And actually,
you should know how it works at least.
Yes, and what those armies are going to do well is they're going to have super optimized choices of troops. And so, like, you'll see, like, as funny as this sounds, you're going to see a block of 30 white lions in a mixed order list take a tournament soon, because that's 30 elite troops for 300 points. And they're like 3s and 3s, neg 1 rend, 1 damage, 2 attacks a model for 300 points.
The Kharadron Overlords and the Volkite Berserkers. Those are
Kharadron Overlord, Volkite Berserkers, Longbeards.
My boy Tenebral Shard with the Sword of Japan.
Yep, that's exactly it. The Sword of Judgment teleporting in and acing people on 5s, possibly even 4s. Like
20 points. Oof.
Yeah, well, he's 80, right? He's not 120.
No, he's 120. Yeah.
Oh, is he 120? I thought he was 80 for some reason.
80's the assassin that hides in his pants.
Oh yeah. 80's the Matryoshka doll. And so
does anybody actually think that this is an actual gatekeeper, though?
No.
Is anybody voting gatekeeper?
No.
I think
what I would say is this:
a lot of people will play it, and so you'll have a chance of playing against it. You know.
Yeah. This is going to be, you'll see this on top tables occasionally. You're not going to see this. This will not serve as a gatekeeper to keep other people out. But what it will do is it's going to surprise some Nagash players.
Yeah.
Because his weakness is high rend range shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that man has any weakness, it's high rend range shooting, and Order's going to bring that in droves. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, like, Nagash will get one-turned by armies like this. It will happen. And it's going to be funny when it does, because it will, in that sense, it will be a gatekeeper. Like, when it does get bumped into, it will be a hard counter to Nagash death lists.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons Nagash is so strong right now, is that shooting got, for the most part, killed. And that was his weakness, was shooting, was Ren 2 shooting specifically.
Yep.
You don't get the.
And suddenly you have Nagash everywhere. You know, it's no surprise.
He doesn't get the neg 1 for Lookout Sir either.
No.
So like,
there's no way to increase him. He goes to a 5-up save.
Yeah. So finally, your long strikes are finally useful again.
No, because when they trigger mortals, actually, he gets better defenses. So you don't want mortals. So you actually want. Yeah, you actually want.
Arcanaut. Yeah.
You want Arcanauts, and you want. I would actually argue, like, I thought they were shit before, but I've loved. Like, I didn't understand the power of Wardens really until I got to Akon and put them on the table. I mean, that neg 3 rend shooting, and the mobility on those guys, because it's 12-inch fly, 24-inch range. They can reach out and touch things in very bad ways. And so I think that people are going to be surprised. Those order armies that are mixed order optimized lists are going to come in with an avenue of attack that most people don't have, which is high rend range shooting, and it is going to hurt some top tier lists significantly when it happens.
In order,
are you saying that it is a gatekeeper then?
I don't think it's common enough to actually serve as a gatekeeper, though.
No, it's just a bad matchup that you have to be aware.
It's a bad matchup. It's a silver bullet. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, Stormcast. What do we all think of Stormcast?
3.
I don't know. I'm thinking 2.
2.
2.5.
Yeah, it's high 2.
I would say, but
exactly 2.5. I know we're not allowed to say halves, but it is 2.5.
Sacrosanct is too good to call it 2.
But the bodies, they just fall short on the bodies.
Being elite is too much of a downside right now in the game, and there's too much.
I don't know, man. You can get quite a few sequitors in there.
Yeah,
you can. Like, I have 30 sequitors in my list, but that's still not winning the game.
That's
And
a
they're
shit ton of
slow,
bodies. Your
man.
argument was just about bodies.
A lot of
That's-
bodies is 90.
That's
50
60
bodies is not.
wounds.
Yeah. 30 is not 90. That's the problem. That's exactly the problem. Like
So-
almost all of my high-end tournament lists I'm writing now have minimum 3 blocks of 30 with an additional supplemented elite troops backing those 3 blocks of 30 up.
Yeah.
That's just
I
too
mean-
much to paint. Fuck that.
Well, but I would argue that that's what's going to win tournaments.
Yeah.
I've always
Plus,
said that
they're
if you
simply too
have
slow
the
in the
patience
game.
to sit down and build a 200 model list, you're going to win. But it requires the patience to sit down and build a 200 model list.
I've got the 200 model Skaven list. I don't think that's going to win anything.
Well, yes, we'll not talk about Skaven.
I think Skaven's
So,
too.
I think Steven's pretty
Are
good.
we, who's saying 3? Who's saying 2?
I'm saying 3.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down for 3.
I'm saying 2.
Are you at 2 as well?
I'm thinking.
Yeah, because we can't do
Oh,
averages,
it is on
it's
the
hard, but I'm saying 2 because I want to skew
Yeah.
the statistics more correctly. Since
Yeah,
I can't
I would
use
agree with
halves,
that.
I'm saying 2.
Yeah,
Okay,
if I could
so
use
now do I
halves,
have
I would
to-
go 3 or 2.5. But I can't use halves, so I'm going to go 2. Yep, I'll round down.
Anybody thinking of this as a gatekeeper army?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're gonna,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
If
Regardless,
you can't
half
deal
the
with
players
armor,
in-
you are screwed.
if it was
Half the
terrible,
players in the
it would
world
still-
take Stormcast, so you're going to face it.
You have to deal with alpha strikes on turn 1 where they put 10, evocators anywhere they want.
Or
gotta be able
6
to deal with
kitties. 6 kitties anywhere they want.
Yeah, or 6 cats or whatever their list is. And sometimes you're going to have to deal with a Star Drake with a 4-up mortal wound save on it. And if you can't kill it, well, that's a problem.
Or immunity to red.
Or immunity to rend, one of the two.
Des, what are you thinking?
Yeah, dude, definitely Gatekeeper. You'll see him everywhere.
I'm going to be the dissenting opinion and say they're really not a gatekeeper because I think they're just too vanilla to really.
Well, you're going to play against it twice a day,
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you just see
doesn't-
it coming, so you're going to prepare for it.
Well, that's why.
But
That's the
if you
definition of
don't
being
prepare for it, that's the definition of a
Yeah.
gatekeeper. If you don't prepare for it, it will weed you out.
And if the army was trash, it would still be a gatekeeper. You have to be able to counter whatever it is it does, because it's like what, the most played army, maybe.
Yeah.
So
It is.
you're just going to play it against it a lot, and you have to be prepared, whether or not you think it's amazing or not.
All right. Well, you've convinced me.
Yosh.
All right. Daughters of Cain.
Yeah.
4.
3.
3.
Yep.
Does anybody not say 3?
Well, we're not allowed to use
No.
3.5, so I guess 3. Hey, it's a witch elf. I wonder where her 59 friends are.
59? Or don't you mean 89?
Look, I'm seeing a lot of people only running 60. I think it's wrong, but I see a lot of people doing it. So I
Yeah, they're just making a mistake. They're making a decision with their wallet and not
Yes,
with their
they are.
optimized brain.
exactly.
Threat of trouble with the wife.
I mean, like the reality is this: daughters. The problem is that daughters are really good, and they're really good in multiple builds. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of different flavors of daughters, and you can't prepare for just one. If you prepare for a single list, like the change host, they're going to blindside you.
Mhm.
Because like most of the daughters lists that were at top tables in Nova all had Marathis in them, right?
Yeah.
I don't have
Well,
Marathi in my list, and I
Yeah,
can
those
assure
mostly
you.
from the pack. I mean, really, that was mostly from the pack. She's
Yep.
very good. Don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of extra witch elves you could be running. I'm just saying,
Yeah, that's like 45 more witch elves.
Yeah. And I know you automatically win places of power or whatever when you're playing are okay, but I don't know. There's a lot of things they can do. If witch elf, like, if some of their stuff gets nerfed, it's like Zinch, where their best thing was nerfed, and there's still a top tier army just waiting there to get played. And there's
Right.
still a plan C that's still probably tier 1,
Right, and that's
So-
what I'm saying. Like let's say Hagnar gets a nerf. Okay,
Mhm.
fully realistic. Okay, Drakey Ganeth is going to come roll your face. Let's say Drakey gets nerfed. Calibron, I can make a pretty solid Calibron list that's going to become immune to all that shooting that we were talking about.
Yeah. That the Temple Nest or whatever battalion where it's like kickback mortal wounds on ones to hit against you or whatever is pretty freaking crazy too. Like they just
unfortunately it's tied to snakes.
Yeah. But the thing
all
is,
that to say,
snakes are great. It's just they're not insane, and so they're not
witch elves
on the table.
All of that to say, Daughters is really good.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why I'm painting up these as my army this year. Like, they're just good. And you can build them a lot of different ways, and they're good in all of those ways.
Yeah. And when some sort of nerf comes, if it will, there will be plenty of playable stuff still around.
Yep.
So it's safe, I think.
Aesthetically, the army is fucking beautiful too. Like it is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. And so for those that want to win painting awards or compete in that space, guess what? It's the right kind of army to do that.
You got a lot of skin for tattoos and those freehanding stuff.
A lot of titties. So
also true.
Gatekeeper.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's a gatekeeper.
I don't know. That's a tough one. Well, I mean, yes, I guess technically it is a gatekeeper, but it's going to be at the top tables. I mean, so that's not necessarily a gatekeeper. That's the boss fight.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to play it. The more it takes forever to paint it up, you know. And so
they're just going to be everywhere because you have bad players.
You're going to have to beat them.
Sitting at that's it. That's exactly right. If you want to do well, you're going to face them at some point in the lineup and potentially multiple times.
Just like Zinch was last season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, so much Zinch.
Deepkin. What do we think on Deepkin?
2.
Yeah.
2.
I feel like in a good player's hands, it could be 3, but 2 for sure. We're looking at average. Well, I don't know.
I think if you're going order, the good players are going to go to Daughters of Cain, not Deepkin.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
So you have to paint a whole lot less armies and still win a tournament, you know, or models.
I don't know. I've just seen Deepkin in the hands of good players get their asses handed to them. So
yeah,
sure.
They have the body problem.
Yeah.
They don't have lots of models. Like they can go a heavy thrall list, but I don't think that that's a tournament winning list. And so what ends up happening is they run into the problem. They end up being an elite army when, you know, and that's going to stack the deck against them. That's what I would say.
2s across the board?
Is it 2s across the board that everyone says? I'll say 3.
To balance it out.
Yeah. They can't use halves. They're very good. They have a great plan A. And they can shift a little. Like if you're terrified of their high tide, well, then they can kind of sit on objectives and score some points while you get over that, you know, while you get over your fear. They have and they're so maneuverable for objective play. It's just, you know, unfortunately they're elite and that sucks.
So you're giving them a 3 though?
They're not, you know. So yeah, I'm saying 3.
I think they are in no way gatekeeper army though. Like, I feel like nothing about them that's like a hard counter to anything.
No, they'll just kill
box army.
If you're like if you feel safe against Stormcast Deep Strike, then you're probably fine against IDK Deep Strike.
Yep.
Like it's just they're splash hit by other stuff you're preparing against for the most part.
Yeah, you can consider them. They're the rats outside Freeport. They're the training that you get for the gatekeepers.
Oh my god!
What I would say is this: the only thing that they would serve as a gatekeeper to would be shooting armies.
Yeah,
like armies that are heavily reliant on shooting. And the problem is there's just not a lot of those left.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of armies that require lots of shooting, Caradron Overlords. This ought to be an interesting one.
1.
Yeah, at this point, post nerfs 1. Yep.
You can make a KO list that's probably on the middling half of okay.
You can get to 2.
But it forgoes everything unique about the army in any way.
Yeah, your heavy Arcanauts. You have some allied melee blocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
you're going to run 2 blocks of 30 company. You'll run 10 company on foot as your third battle line. You'll run a block of probably 30 Longbeards or 30 Volkites as your roadblock. Yep. You have an admiral, 2 chemists, and you'll have 1 to 2 packs of 6 riggers, all souls.
Yeah,
and that's
if you have to take allies to make your faction even a tier 2, then you can't be a tier 1. Sorry.
Well, I mean, allies are assumed in all compositions, and sometimes allies do make the combos. Like I think about Dreadwood with Celestin Prime and stuff like that. So I think it's a 2. I'll say this. I'll back off and say I think it's a 2 because I think that'll fit in that niche. No one's going to be preparing for shooting, and as a shooting army, it can come in and blindside people.
Yep. That's where I'm thinking too. Is that they're still probably one of the best shooting armies in the game, and nobody's going to prepare for it. So I think they're going to do halfway decent, because people are going to assume it's not a thing, and anybody that shows up with them, I think, will do pretty well as a result.
That said, if you want to make that
play IDK and then Night Haunt back to back. Oh, I guess I just lost the whole tournament. Cool. Round 3 Sylvaneth. There's too many bear traps to step into as a shooting list like that. Really.
Right, and that's actually exactly why you're just better off to do mixed order with that exact same list.
Yeah,
which is what I did last year at Con. If you want to do that, if you want to play KO, the best way to do it is as a mixed order list, where you bring in other stuff to supplement half of your army, which is KO.
Yeah, when mixed order is just better than your allegiance, and you're not running half even of your stuff, then it's safe to say I'll say 1 just on principle because of that. It's a principled stand, but I'll do
it. Guys, what are you thinking?
That's my feelings. I'm going to say 2, though.
What I would say, talking about some stuff, but model-wise and the conversions that you can do with them and stuff, there would be a 3 in my book.
They're gorgeous, absolutely amazing hobby experience.
It's such a trap.
Having put a bunch of them together myself, absolutely exquisite. If only everything that ever happened to them rules-wise wasn't a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
I'm not even just talking about the recent stuff. It's open the book, every war scroll is wrong. It's been changed for the worse, at least
60% of the war scrolls are literally key abilities have been changed on at least 60% of them.
Yeah. So Maroc, are you giving them a 2?
They're a 1, but
they're not a hard 1, but I think they're a 1.
Yeah.
I've faced off against them a couple of times, and even with the up against the big blocks of 30 Arcanauts with all the shooting, it's not enough. They need what I mean. The deep striking, the getting to move your boats extra with certain battalions and stuff. It's not enough. They need something more.
The boats are just terrible. If you could shoot off the boats, that would be maybe too much. I don't know.
Yeah, the key is they need to change the embarked rule to be garrisoning. Man, if you change it to garrisoning, it would be overnight. It would be a completely different army.
They already have the garrison rules. They could have just used them. Oh well.
That's what I'm saying. If you just change that wording to be garrisoning, where they can shoot out of the boats when they're embarked, completely different, and melee out of them, completely different experience.
But still not unbeatably powerful. Just good.
Right.
Yep. Caradron is Caradron is the Michael Caine movie, a nerf too far.
Yeah. They got Beast Clawed, in other words.
They did get Beast Clawed. Yeah,
I love how that's
responsibility for that.
Are they a gatekeeper on
No, God, no.
No, they're just not frequent enough.
And a third of the armies out there accidentally do amazing against them without even trying.
And that's the thing right there, is that you can have a list that's a 2 on our scale here, and still just not even try to beat a character on list. So no, it's not a gatekeeper.
Again, but like I will say this: in the hands of an optimized player with an optimized list, they're going to be a 2.
It will be beaten by a Zinch player using a net list.
Yeah, it's a 2 that has some bad matchups, maybe even a lot of bad matchups. But I just don't want to come down too hard on them because they got nerfed. It's not like, they're not as bad as everyone says, but it's a trap. Don't play them.
Yeah, that's
Is anyone saying yes that they are a gatekeeper other than me?
I guess it's not really like KO. You're talking about just shooting, period. Like, you should consider that when you're building your army, in other words. Like, that's really what you're saying?
Like,
yeah, I mean, I think they're a strong shooting army, and there are some armies that will do very bad to high-end shooting. And
thankfully, Paragon doesn't have any of that.
Against a competent KO player, there's certain lists that are just going to fold up because they can't do anything about the shooting.
Next.
Yeah, I think some people do have a bad matchup against shooting, even now. But I don't know that I'd call KO gatekeepers because of that.
I love going up against shooting armies.
It's like, bring it on, bitch!
Love it.
Don't run. Okay, so
they all run into Owen.
Our next contestant, Sylvaneth.
3.
I mean, I personally have like a deep disdain for Sylvaneth, but I still have to give them a 3.
Is it because you have to have played on Wildwoods once in your life or more?
I have played on Wildwoods more than once in my life, and they're terrible. And they are just like, I feel like they're one of like now that like Plague Touch Warband is gone, I feel like having to deal with Sylvaneth in general is one of like the worst play experiences for your opponent that is in the game.
It's right up there with an Nagash across the table when you spent points on Wizards.
Yes.
Yep.
Ooh, I rolled a 4. I guess I'll unbind that. And that 2 and that 2. 2.
I'll give Sylvaneth a 3 too. They have some, with the newest rule set, they have some shenanigans that puts them up there in contention.
And they
I don't think they're as good as Daughters of Cain, for instance, but I think they're better than most.
I think that they are a 3 and a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Because if you are not able to deal with them, they are going to remove you. And if you do not know their tricks, if you don't know all their stuff, like you're just going to get caught with your pants down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have so much going on that you need to know all the movement and the ranges and the coming off the back edge of the board and the spells and the healing and the line of sight issues. And like, if you don't have all of that prepared and ready and know what you're going to face, and you stare down across from these folks at it, in a tournament, in any round, you're done.
Yeah.
I think the weird thing about Sylvaneth is considering that not a lot of what I want to call top players take Sylvaneth. What you'll find is that Sylvaneth goes to tournaments and it doesn't do well because the players who take it aren't generally the best players.
And I'll tell you why.
It's a weird kind of thing where the list should do better than it does.
It's hard to play.
The reason for that is because playing Sylvaneth isn't a rules choice. It's an aesthetic choice.
Yes, exactly.
And
exactly that.
The models for the Sylvaneth are extraordinarily beautiful. Like, Alariel is probably the most beautiful model that GW's ever put out, period.
I think it's because the Wildwoods are always sold out.
And they're expensive. Wildwoods are ridiculously expensive.
Yep.
And you
so
only
is
annoy
anybody saying
yourself.
anything other than the 3?
What was that?
Anybody saying anything other than 3 for Sylvaneth?
So
No,
I'll say this. I think against a prepared player, I think there are 2. Like if you have a top tier player steering out a Sylvaneth list, and the top tier player is prepared, and they've taken and they know what the tricks are, and they're prepared for it, it's not going to be it's going to be an easier matchup, because a lot of Sylvaneth relies on winning by all of their stuff. There's no raw power there in a sense. Even Dreadwood, as good as Dreadwood is, as in its 1 and 2 drop forms, the reality is, if you know how to deploy against Dreadwood, if you've included chaff in your list, if you've planned, then you can weather the storm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So are you calling it a 2 then?
I would.
Yes. I'm going to say 2 just to balance out our numbers because we don't have halves.
I think that's a fine choice. In which case, I don't need to, and I'll say 3.
Yeah, I'm also saying 2, just because they're. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we don't play super competitive around here, but I just find them not too bad to play against. Because you get into their woods and you just kind of shut all their stuff down. You just run up and sit in their woods, and then they can't use them. Whatever.
Yeah. Gatekeeper?
Yes.
Yeah.
If
that's
the army.
If you don't know how to deal with them, they'll fuck you up.
Even a great player, the first time they play Sylvaneth, they'll lose against somebody who's decent.
Yep, I agree with that statement.
A little bit of their weakness, as Tom touched on, is that goes both ways. They're like Wanderers in that respect, except Wanderers aren't nearly as good.
Oh, the Forgotten Faction.
One of the many.
What do they do again?
We teleport all over the place and shoot you and then run away.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Just when you think you've got them.
No, when you think you got them, they explode.
When you think you got them, you got them.
When you think you have them, the match is actually already over. At that point, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I've won.
All right, so here's going to be an interesting one. Seraphon.
Honestly, this is
the first difficult one.
Because 80% of Seraphon lists, no. You can only take one list in the entire Seraphon Alliance to do well, but when you take that list, you will do well.
I don't know how I believe
very much disagree. So this is okay. I'm a 3 on this army. I play this army. Most people run a Slan. I don't. Currently, my Seraphon list is undefeated. Not trying to brag, but it is. They're very, very good at what they do. They have a large, wide toolbox of things that they're capable of, and it's very easy to sort of just push the button and apply that tool to whatever it is you need it to deal with. So, in my opinion, it's a 3.
You need to do an unlocking Seraphon video then, because I can't find that. My thing is Seraphon is a horde army without the proper tools to make it successful.
I disagree. My Seraphon army has less than 50 models in it.
At the start of the game?
Yes.
That's the real question. No, it's not.
I don't run a Slan or an Engine of the Gods. I don't have summoning.
Oh, okay.
Were you using Sunclaw?
No, I am using the Temple Guard Battalion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't have enough wounds would be the problem with that.
2-up rerollable save, and to combat the wizards and things shooting out mortal wounds, I run 3 units of Chameleon Skinks, and that usually is enough to take care of that problem.
I just
drop my gosh.
I have one word for that army: Storm Fiends.
Well, no, Storm Fiends aren't common enough, so yeah, you can't look to them.
Yeah, didn't we just get done talking about how bad the Ratmen are?
No, they're not. They're good.
Eternal Starhold, so I'm just going to destroy it. I don't care about your 2-up rerollable saves when all I do is mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's it, and they're low. They're all 1 wound models. Maroc, don't get me wrong. I've looked at that list, and I'm very familiar with what they are. The problem is they run into the Stormcast problem without the double wound models, the 2 wound models.
No, I hear you.
I would say, despite all these conversations, I think they're a 3. and I think that they are a gatekeeper list as well.
Yeah, you have to be able to deal with what used to be Croak-NATO, but now it's just the summoning.
Yeah,
Easy.
Yep.
And Croak is still good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They might not
Well,
do as much damage as you would like, but there's something to be said for playing rock, paper, scissors, and you get to teleport rocks next to scissors whenever you want. That's really strong.
Always.
Yeah, every time. Like, your opponent massively outpositions you. Nope. Actually, it is you who are outpositioned because it became my turn. And that's very strong in an objective-based game.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're using skink clouds or, whatever the fuck, like summoning and stuff, they have amazing allegiance abilities, a giant toolbox of, war scrolls.
A summonable toolbox.
Yeah.
Not just a toolbox.
Yeah. Are people saying 2s or 3s? It's kind of between those, I think.
I got 3.
It's a 3 in my mind.
3.
I would actually go as far as to say I think it's a hard 3. That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is in my mind it is a hard 3. Like daughters are a hard 3.
I think daughters are a little better, but Seraphon is certainly up there.
Well, man, I'm surprised by all this, although I didn't know that Maroc plays Seraphon. But yeah, I was planning on doing the unpopular opinion 3 thing, but I guess everyone else is doing that. So yeah, it's a 3, and yes, they're a gatekeeper. People have to get over the fact that they just got nerfed real hard, and everyone's sad, so they're not playing them. But when they start coming back, yeah, it's real.
I don't even think they got nerfed. Like, I don't even know what the fuck everybody's talking about. Like, it's just...
They didn't get that bad of a nerf.
Well, they used to play this Finecast guy.
Hashtag fuck the toads.
Is everybody saying 3 and everybody saying gatekeeper?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Future-proof this show.
That actually is putting them slightly ahead of Daughters of Cain.
Well, that's of course wrong, but such is the problem with some pure math,
Yeah, exactly. I'm just throwing that out there as an interesting result that we're seeing so far.
You want me to say 1 just to balance it out and drop them down a peg?
No, I mean,
I'm willing to be wrong. I said Soulscryer wasn't any good. I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I think.
Although then I learned that you can stack his + 3-inch charge thing, and now I think he's good. But I read the war scroll a second time, and I'm like, oh, I can get +6 to charge. Opinion rescinded.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
like Hammers of Sigmar are bad. I'm like, no, you are definitely playing Stormcast incorrectly if you think Hammers of Sigmar are bad.
No, I mean they're okay. So, yeah, like if you're alphaing and the other opponent's not prepared, then yeah, they're great. But if they're prepared, you're going to hit a line of chaff, and then they're going to blow you off the table.
Yep.
Every
week.
I mean,
with mixed order.
Yeah, like that's my army
killed a bunch. Nice, you're off the table.
Yeah, my army was built around the idea of I'll take any punch you throw at me, and then I will remove you off the table.
Yeah, Southpaw.
Yeah.
Is that what is known as a beta strike with our terminology?
That's what I used to call it. I would talk. Yeah, I would call it a beta strike. Yep.
Okay. I got a terminology section in my next video. I wanted to be correct on it.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't see it a lot. As a tactic, you didn't see it a lot previously. But I think it's a very valid tactic, especially in such a alpha-heavy meta.
Yeah.
That we're moving into. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You might also want to try Cuck Strike. That might be a good one too.
What? Which one? I didn't hear you.
I think you might want to call it the Cuck Strike.
Kappa Strike? I think we should keep it Greek in here. Kappa Strike.
Oh, I'm still keeping it Greek. They're plenty beta.
Oh, sure.
Cute. Yeah, that's what I would. I think that they're good. That's my point.
Yeah. Speaking of good, Fire Slayers.
Yes. I don't get it.
I'm just gonna say 3 all day for me. They are.
No, they're 2s now.
What was that? Did they get nerfed recently? Because
All of their
the
heroes.
tournament I went to, I got destroyed by a Fire Slayers list. So
all of their heroes went up 50% for all their foot heroes in cost. So everybody went from like 80 points to 120. And all of their command abilities got turned to shit, even though you can all use them, all of them now. Like, I thought that was a big deal, and then I went to build a list, and everything's wholly within now. So all their command abilities are terrible. And so, because when you have you have blocks of 30 dudes on 32 mil bases, wholly within is the bane of your existence. You will never get any of those abilities to work.
It took an army that was already tedious to play and turned it into overdrive.
Yeah. They're twos. Like, I think there's some competitive lists. I think that there's some fun for me lists, not fun for other people lists, in there. But I don't think that it's not a 3.
I think an easy counter, depending on which command ability you're counting on, though, is the Obsidian Coronet, which adds 6 inches onto that range. It's that bad.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because what you have to do then is you have to put your hero in the middle of the pack.
Yep.
Okay, so what that means is that if you have them on Magmadroth, they actually don't get to participate in combat in any meaningful way. And when they splash, they're going to splash wounds on everything around them of their own guys. They're never splashing on other people. And so if you want to ignore that, then you have to push a bubble out. So then you have like a tier of bubbles where you have the dude in the middle on the Magmadroth, a bubble of safety where none of your guys can be within, otherwise they take damage. And then hopefully your bubble still extends to the point that it buffs a single 30-man unit. It's just, and when you go to pile in, the problem is that it's going to limit how much you can actually get in. The alpha blocking that they were so good at, the problem is that you will never gain command, like the ability to remove individual models and kill half of a unit that is now prolific amongst the various armies. That removes their ability to alpha block reliably against all armies. And even if they do alpha block, they're going to lose all their buffs. Because even their Battle Shock immunity is wholly within now. Where before, if you'll remember, you had to have a single dude alive and he projected a bubble. The irony here is that Mixed Order still maintains their Battle Shock immunity bubble that's not wholly within. And so Mixed Order actually becomes the better option again for this type of Horde style army.
So then why wouldn't you downgrade it to a 1 at that point?
Because I think a pure Fire Slayer list is still a 2. Like, despite all of those things, you can still put 90 4-up save dudes on the table that are going to do work. In one of those blocks, you can Alpha Strike. I mean, they're going to reroll wounds. You can bump them to Ren 2. Like, they're still going to do work, and it's going to be painful to grind through that stuff. But it's not a 3. That's my argument.
So what do we got from everybody else?
1.
I feel strongly about these things.
Yeah,
I vote 1. I fucking hate Fire Slayers. It's
Where
too
did they
much.
touch you, Marak?
No, it's too much of the same shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the army's boring. It's just like, here's my 3 blocks of 30 Volkites.
But is it competitive? That's the question.
It's
a lot of army.
boring.
I mean, everybody looks the same and the monsters suck, right? So obviously, but this is about how good they are.
It's stupid. 1.
I like the Mohawks. They make good scalps for Beast Claw Montpoles.
They do. I'm sure they do.
So we got 1s and 2s from everybody.
Fire Slayers lately.
I'm going to counter Marak, and I'm going to go 3. I'm going to counter and go
To
3.
balance us back out at 2.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I still think 18-inch range is more than enough. If you're careful with your movements, you will have more than enough room. I think you'll be fine.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. If you're careful with your movements and you don't pile in, that is absolutely true.
We're talking about top tier
Brian,
players.
what do you think?
Are we allowed to abstain? Because I don't know enough about the new Fire Slayers.
Just pick a number.
Fine, 2.
Cool. You didn't change the average.
Man, I was gonna say real low too. So I guess 2.
Yep, we're in a round down system.
Yeah. Gatekeeper.
No.
Dude, hardly anyone played them when they were great.
Yeah.
Because they were so tedious to play and they all looked the same. And they cost elite army points for horde army models.
They're expensive.
And now that they're not any good, yeah. I don't know that you'll really play much against them.
For horde army models too.
You're not going to see them a lot as a full army.
Yeah.
You will see them a lot in mixed order.
You'll see a 30-man Volkite unit all the time.
I am still convinced that Fire Slayers are the reason why movement trays got invented.
There's a strong case. It's why I bought my movement trays. Was for my Fire Slayers.
I don't know. I love the rooms. I think they have so much adaptable rules that you can just take right out of your toolbox right when you need them. I don't know. I think they're great.
Even if they were a gatekeeper, what would you do? It's 30 dudes with rerollable 4-up saves that have mortal wound protection, but don't do much damage and step on their own toes.
Well, no, that's to be fair. They actually do damage.
Yeah,
like, that's what a lot of people like. They do. They grind actually really well. What they don't do well against are penalties to hit.
Yeah,
like that. Like that's your counter to them. If you want to counter to Volkites, it's penalties to hit.
Yeah, -1 hit.
Yeah, because they have a 4-up to hit, and they can't move that, and they're not getting reroll to hits. And so what happens is if you can give them -2 to hit, you will shut down that unit. That unit stops functioning at -2 to hit. Which against like Nagash lists, death lists, that's not hard to do anymore. A single spell and Geminids, and suddenly that unit is perpetually at -2 to hit.
We're just naturally attacking 30 Dryads.
Yeah,
that are just at -1 to get hit. And talk about like piling in Fire Slayers into a Wildwood. Good luck.
Yeah, you're gonna get like 7 models into combat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you guys think that these guys move up a tier if they were actually on like dwarf bases? If they were actually
like
on like
25s? Oh god.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Bases are so much more important than people have any idea about on the table. It's like the difference between on paper and on the table.
It hurts my feelings.
When Marty Thralls came out, people thought they were absolutely overpowered. And then somebody went down to the Jivaza website and they're like, oh, 32s. Okay.
You have no idea how excited I was by not heart renders. What are the melee ones? Life takers? Life taker harpies? Like when I saw those, I'm like, I am in for a 20 block of heart taker, the heart takers. And then I found out they're on 40 mil rounds.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I'm out. Like they're not like they literally it was a 1-0 switch.
Yep.
On 32s I could have ran them. On 25s like witches, oh buddy, I was in.
That's why
But
I love my
40s?
net so much.
Yeah, on 40s?
On
Nope.
40s, you're getting that email from GW. Hey, you left something in your cart. Oh, that's right.
That's exactly right. Yeah, bases are really important. And running my dwarf army, that became painfully obvious this last season.
Yeah. I mean, I did a whole video on bases for a reason.
Yeah, like I had both of them in my army, and like I saw it firsthand. The fact that like when I would do rank and file fights, I would like do 1-inch gaps between all my Volkites and fit in 2 dudes in between each of those gaps.
Yeah.
So I was getting double the number
literally less
just
than
right out of the gate of Longbeards in the combat over against Volkites. It was disappointing.
All right. Free people.
Better than people think, but 2.
Yeah. I would give them a firm 2. I think part of what I think is going on with that is I really believe a lot of people are playing it wrong. Like, so many people are running like a unit of 40 guard and then 2 units of 30 handgunners. I'm just like, you should not be playing it that way. Like, I feel like using 2 smaller great companies is a better answer. that said, I don't think they're, even with that, they're not that good.
I don't know what, like, maybe it's my ignorance. No, it's just they're bad. I don't I don't know what they're doing that mixed order's not doing better. And not only mixed order, like if you throw Firestorm in, this isn't even a conversation.
Yeah, I think the only thing that they're doing that mixed order is not doing is they get the stand and shoot and then shooting during your opponent's turn. That's about all they really get to do that's better or different.
You're saying during the charge phase, like during the charge phase of the opponent's turn because of the way the thing's worded.
Yes.
There's nothing I enjoy more than piling in 6 inches into a great company and not getting shot. Like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, those Sisters of Slaughter are like, hey, bitches! Like, just roll in and like, those 10 models murder 30 block of dudes.
Like, I so badly want them to be better than they are, but, like, it's just, like, everything in the army just gets outclassed by something else.
Their twos right now... Go ahead. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, like, everything about them is, like they brought... like a unit of 3 demogryphs down to 140 points, and they're still not worth taking. They started off in the first General's Handbook at 200 poinds.
Funny story, by the way.
That's incredible.
And the
funny story
has not changed.
Cav armies are going to implode in the new world we're playing in. That's a funny story. Because of the remove a model. Like the one-shot kill a model ability, because you can't get Cav bases enough within 1 inch that if you remove one, you will almost always kill half the unit.
Yeah.
And so like even the Dracoline armies, like 6 Dracolines, you could easily cut that to 2 models very easily, or 3 models. So you'd kill 1 and then they lose 2 because of the new coherency rules.
Yeah. Which I personally, after playing with it for a while, I really don't like that coherency rule. I think they with it.
Why? You lose half a unit of Blade Kings?
I think they were trying to punish like conga lines, and they ended up punishing like you piled in funny with a unit that already had wounds on like 1 multi-wound model that ended up in the middle because of like carelessness or happenstance, and now like half the unit blows up. Like, I feel like it was like the effect is not the like what they were going for. The actual effect on the game, I think, is much more heavy-handed than what they intended that rule to do. But
I think if a unit is immune to battle shock, they should be immune to that blowing up from coherency. Like, honestly, like I think that's the answer. It's because what that's representing is that they are losing morale and fleeing. Okay?
Right.
If they're immune to battle shock, they should skip that step.
Yeah.
Yeah, it costs you a command point then, usually.
Yeah.
And that's a resource, sure. Pay a resource to do the thing.
Yeah.
And while they're at it,
so
make piling in absolutely obnoxious.
Yeah.
What's everybody's score on Free People? Anybody saying anything other than 2?
They are a 2 now, but they're a contingent 1. When Slaanesh comes out, they will move to 1 immediately.
Yeah.
Because Slaanesh will be popular. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're exactly right. There will be so much 6-inch pile-in that Slaanesh will just shut it down. They won't, and they'll get cut to pieces by Slaanesh 6-inch pile-in.
And it'll get the new army comes out, so 8% of all players are playing it thing, and it'll be a real expectation in the meta. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, currently, it's like Sisters of Slaughter, which most people choose Witch Elves instead, and like what Yetis. You don't have to worry about that too much, but yeah, I agree.
Well, not only that, like, heaven forbid, like, even in the current world of like exalted chariots, like if an exalted chariot drifts into one of those mortal wounds happen before they get to fire, because that happens immediately. And so like they will literally just delete half of the unit right out of the gate before any shots are fired. And that's not even with a 6-inch pilot.
Yeah, and because it's a gun line, so they're going to be spread out enough, and you're going to Tokyo drift right in there.
Yeah, so what I would say is once Slanesh becomes more prolific, it will immediately jump to a 1.
Yeah.
And you already have a lot of really rough matchups. We talked about Sylvaneth, where they just set up walls for free that you can't shoot through. You have to come to them. That's your main problem with Free Peoples, is that you have to go to your enemy, actually.
Right.
If you could just teleport to stuff, then you could be a castle, and it's kind of a big deal. But you got to pay out the nose for demigriffs, which aren't even that good, just to like have some reach on the table. Yeah, it's tough.
So, Paul, do you remember when we did our thing with AOS?
Yep.
Where we compared our armies, and I talked about that list that that hypothetical list that I premiered on that conversation was basically what I took to Akon. I don't know if you know that, and that was 9 months before Akon. So the humorous thing is I ran against one of those. I ran against a castle thing in the 1,000-point game, and it literally it was a GW store a store manager, and he had a Free People's army gun line, and I just sat at 24 inches, and I was like pew pew pew, and blew a bunch of his toys off, and then he marched a couple inches forward, and then I just moved back that many, and I just kept doing it, and literally just shot everything off. It played out exactly like we talked about.
Yeah. I think, though, for certain armies, this is Free People can definitely be a gatekeeper. Against any army that relies on run across the table and get in melee, they're just going to pop them off the board really quickly.
I don't think enough people play them for them to be a gatekeeper, though.
I disagree. It depends on how those armies are built. If that army is run across the board and get in melee and they have 3 combat units, yes. If they have 8 combat units, what's going to happen is you're going to shoot one of those off with the stand and shoot, and then the other unit that multi-charges is going to come in and blow your handgunners off the table.
You hear that, Paul? That means that my 11 units of Skin Wolves wins.
Womp womp womp. So I mean, it depends on the players, and it depends on the armory composition. But what I would say, I think about Vince's semi MSU elite Ironjaw's army. Sure, you're going to take a unit of pigs, and he's going to take those shots on the chin, and then the brutes when they come in are just going to literally turn the entire 30 block of gunners to pieces, just a tinder. It's
That's
just not
exactly an exaggeration. 5 brutes in a WoW will kill a Stonehorn from Full to Dead, whether you have damage or not. They're just so killy, it's almost ridiculous.
Right.
And the buffs
right.
are.
I love Iron
anybody else saying that they're a gatekeeper, or is it just me?
I think it's just you.
Yep.
Fair enough.
You stand there.
You're just not going to see them enough to either. That's the other half of this. It's when are you going to play against this type of army?
God damn it! This means I just had to take it to a tournament now.
That's how I feel about everyone. Full night. I'm gonna bring Skaven. I'm gonna bring Slayers.
Let me know how that goes for you, Paul. I look forward to that recap.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Is I'm gonna watch the meta, and when the meta is at a point where it's all large unit run across the battlefield and kill you lists, that's their time to shine.
All of those armies suck, though. Right?
Yes. I mean, currently they do.
I mean, okay, Daughters runs across the army and kills you, but they do it with so much flair.
Well, and realistically, a good daughter
distract you with their asses, and that's just not fair.
No, a good daughter's army. I'm learning this. A good daughter's army is going to have some MSU in it. That's one of the things that I'm picking up is that going all 30 blocks is not the right answer. You need to have that those tenors. Because those tenors, by the way, will murder shit. They will literally and the problem is that they also are the things you can just throw into handgunners before the actual block charges in.
Right.
And they serve as chaff, and they serve all these other functions. And so I think the way that a lot of people are building daughters lists is actually not good.
Yep.
But they're just so good at this point that they're performing really well.
Yeah.
All right, so next up on our list, Wanderers.
Who?
I was going to say the same thing.
I think they're underrated, but not good.
I'm going to give Wanderers a 1, to be totally honest. Like, I just don't think that they're like they don't have enough gas in the tank to do more than like I don't see them ever breaching 3-2 at a tournament unless it's a total fluke.
Okay, so let's imagine that they pair up against Nagash and they remove Nagash turn 1 with like a huge block of Glade Guard and Egg 3 Ren shooting. Okay, which is not impossible.
Right.
Do they have the grindiness to get through the 90 undead bodies with healing from the secondary heroes?
Wildwood Rangers are really choppy now, and they cost a decent amount of points. 30 of them are actually good. Can they grind through Death Massive regiments? I don't know. I don't know.
That's a question. I mean, like,
I think it really is a question because nobody plays this thing. So it is a big
thing. The other thing too is the Death Army going to be able to catch them?
Yes, like that would be fast if it needs to be. Yes.
Yeah. I know, but if you're going up against a typical Nagash list, what have you got? You've got Nagash, couple Necromancers, and a bunch of fucking skeletons with maybe some black.
Not at all.
No.
Probably.
You're going to have Chain Wrath and Grimgas Reapers now.
Gotcha.
Can you flit off the board edge out of combat?
I think so.
You can't. You can't judge. That was the pre-nerf. Yeah. Right. I don't think you can retreat out of combat now with that. You can't teleport out of combat now with it.
Then absolutely not. They'll get destroyed.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to give Wanderers a 1 just because, in my opinion, they're irrelevant. You're going to find some Wanderers in a mixed order list, and that's it.
Oh, I mean, you'll find some of the Ranger guys, the shooty heroes, in a mixed order list. I don't know that you're going to find any other normal units, though.
Yeah, the Way Watcher.
He's good. I like the Way Watcher. He's a nice little package.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's also like extremely hard to play that army, and your minor mistakes will cause your units to be exploded off the battlefield.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you're working so hard to be maybe like a number 2 on this list. Yeah.
I think they're a 2 the first time you play against them. Yeah, like a 2 the first time you play against them, and then a 1 after that once you figure out all their tricks and stuff. So I'm gonna say 1 because I'm rounding down, but against most players, I don't think a lot of players have played against them a whole lot, and that sort of surprise thing is gonna give you the upper hand, I think, because it's it's the only army in the game that can just pop off on table edges everywhere. And like games where you have that diagonal deployment, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that is a valid point because most tournament lists these days seem to be surprises, something coming out of left field that nobody expects, and so
that'll last 3 months.
You could have a good matchup and good scenarios, and maybe get somewhere with Wanderers, but. Like I said, it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. Nobody plays Wanderers.
And Arcane Bodkins isn't going to do anything against Night Haunt. It's not going to do anything against Ishalan Guard as the closest unit. It's not going to do anything against Sylvaneth Wildwoods. You have so many bear traps to step on, and you're working so hard. Yeah.
And you're still neg 1 to hit against all the heroes, the other heroes.
And your guys hit on like 4s and shit.
Yeah. So is anybody saying anything other than 1?
I'll say 2.
I'll say 2 as well.
Yeah, like if you play your mind out and you make absolutely no mistakes and your list is great, I think you can go 3-2 sometimes.
Yeah.
No. Like I think that I think you can go 4-1.
I'm going hard on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
definitely underrated. I'll say that as a quote. Like Wanderers are underrated, but there's an asterisk.
Yeah, they're definitely playable. Like they're definitely playable.
I'll say confident 2 then in that case.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
A lot of things are underrated. Like something can be underrated and still be really bad.
I agree.
I agree. Let me give you the flip example. Like I will say up and down every day of the week, the Beatles are overrated. That doesn't mean they're bad. Oh, I just think they put them at people put them at godlike status, and
You're
that's
saying the
just
musicians?
not reality.
Or dung beetles.
Well, they're
I agree
they're
with the
considering
Beatles
all
thing.
the inspirations that later came from it, and so they're bundling up all this other stuff with the band as well, usually. But what a tangent we got on! So
yeah, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but it's just my point is yes, they're probably underrated, but that doesn't mean they're not still bad.
true.
So anybody think these guys are a gatekeeper of any type?
No.
I'm falling back on my irrelevant comment.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
talking to
gatekeepers
the chat.
inherently have to be present.
Yeah.
Like they have to be in the meta, and they're not in the meta.
Yeah. I'm talking to almost everyone online right now. You will never play against them in your whole life. The chances are pretty high for that.
Yeah.
I have played
I have
against.
never played against them ever.
I have. I'm not scared.
I played against a Wanderer-esque army.
Not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean it's true. It's true.
Yeah. All right. So next lucky contestant, Dispossessed.
This is
Two.
hard.
They're a good solid too.
I'm just wondering where to go from there.
I think that the allegiance abilities they got, plus now that they can tunnel up with the miners,
Getting miners back, I think, was really big.
They don't have miners. What are you talking about? They have the pickaxe that can
They have the-
remove
yeah.
a hero and a unit from the table and put it back in the next turn.
It's
So,
still
like,
good.
it's good, but
It
it's
turns
like talk
their
about
forwards-
telegraphed.
It turns their 4-inch movement into something that can actually get them objectives. So instead of being just a turtle army, now they can actually have a chance at a scenario like Scorched Earth.
Yeah, but Stormcast do that with half their army, and their move 4 keeps them out of tier 3, in my opinion. So when you can only do that once and it's telegraphed by a turn, classic
That's
Grand
exactly
Alliance is better than your Allegiance, I think.
Yeah, and that's the other half of this, is that, like, in the very truest sense, because if you want to be competitive, you're going to run a battalion. Is this correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the most hilarious thing about the design of
battalion.
the battalion gives all of the allegiance abilities and better versions of them.
Yeah.
So the allegiance gives you on ones and twos you never run. Okay, for Battle Shock. Or ones to threes, like 50% time you never run. Is it 1 to 3? Yeah. The numbers are identical on the battalion. Okay. Hold on, wait for it. The allegiance ability is a rotating grudge system where you get like reroll ones to hit against some unit, like either monsters or heroes or some type of grudge that you've developed. Where the battalion gives reroll ones to hit always against all things.
Yep.
So the battalion outclasses the actual allegiance 100%.
Yeah.
And a command ability and an artifact. And
the command ability, if you go generic order, you can still get the inspiring Battle Shock immunity.
Yeah. Which is better than any of their traits.
Yeah.
So how do we rate this, Paul? So I don't think Dispossessed are as bad as everyone thinks they are, but like the way to run them is just clearly Grand Alliance. So what do we count this as? Is this a 1 because you should never play the faction itself?
I would
Or is
say
it a 2 because that's how good they're going to be on the table in a mixed order that has mostly Dispossessed units?
I would personally say I would give it a 1 because it's better to just take Grand Alliance order.
No, I mean I would say it's a 2. It's the same reason why I say Fire Slayers are a 2, because I think that you can field these as a thing. Like you can field this as a faction, and be less optimized and still perform at a 2. Like I honestly think Dispossessed are a 2 army.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm going with 2 because one of my gaming buddies who I play with regularly for the past 3 years is a diehard dwarf fan. He has every dwarf ever, and since 2016, I actually I'm starting to lose against his dwarf army now, and that's a new thing.
What's his allies? I'm curious because that's the big question for it.
He just has a couple of the Ironwalled Arsenal, the big guns.
Oh, cannons.
Yep,
and stuff.
So some long guns.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, realistically, it's probably better to run like a Chemist and 20 Arco, because those are long guns that move and their bodies that claim objectives.
Or Incanter and an Arcanum plus the Comet. That's fine.
Yep. Yeah, so Incanter, Arcanum plus it. Yep.
So you dispel and redo the Comet.
I don't disagree that there are better ways to run it. I'm just saying that they're not a terrible
not
army.
criticizing his list.
Yeah. Yep.
We're saying there's options here.
Yep.
I say 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think 2.
Because you're still running like 80% dispossessed stuff. You're just using, technically it's GA instead of faction, but it's still like a dispossessed army.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yep.
Is this also in any way a gatekeeper?
No.
God, no.
Because they fall into, it's almost as irrelevant as Wanderers.
It's more irrelevant.
It's definitely.
There will be players who play it, but they aren't going to be competitive players. They're going to be narrative players. And so you don't really have to worry about them.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen a pure dispossessed army on the table.
I played against one with my 3rd game ever as soon as I got into the hobby last year, like with Beastclaw. I played against an actual dispossessed player, full stuff. I mean, he had all the stuff left over. I don't know that anybody's buying like a dispossessed line, and like building it today, but most of them have it left over from older stuff.
Yeah, I have at least 4 battle reports online of dispossessed player. So
it's a popular, like, people like the army and the idea behind it. I think because of Total War, to be honest. But it's a surprisingly popular idea.
Especially with like older players too, because we had Battle for Skull Pass, which had all the Night Goblins and had all the dwarves.
Super cheap to assemble.
Celestin Prime is a great ally AOS coach. You're right.
What is?
Celestin Prime is a great ally. AOS coach says in chat. That's the ally that Australian man used to get 3rd in that one tournament where they accidentally gave him a win instead of a loss in the one round, but he still did really well.
He just used him as a mobile artillery piece to fucking spit out D3 mortal wounds out onto stuff.
Yeah, or give him the reach that they just really need,
Yeah. He has mobility. They have mortal wounds output. Like, he does all the things that you need him to do.
And he got a little better in this edition.
Yeah, he's really good when he get the reach around. Okay.
So generous.
Darkling Covens.
What? Who?
2.
I'm gonna give them a 1 because I've literally never seen them on the table.
Okay, I'll tell you what. They run 80 executioners and 3 sorceresses on foot that are all at either 2 or 3 to cast. And you can be a 2. It's just absolutely no one will ever or has ever done that. Because the only people playing Darkling Covens, which is no one, are people
who's on Tabletop Sim a lot, and so he doesn't have a Darkling Covens army, but he plays them with me on Tabletop Sim, and I can beat him a lot, but it's a good solid list.
It's just almost everything in the army is terrible except like 3 units. Like the dragon is a trap. All your
the
3
executioners are really good.
Like
I hate to say it, they're 3s.
Yeah, here's
I'm gonna go there.
What?
Yeah, I don't even disagree with you. I've been pulling for them for a while.
Yeah, I've ran the numbers. I've written the list.
As a matter of fact,
and I thought about it. I thought about doing the Dark Horse Darkling Coven list this year, because they have the makings of all the things that you need in the meta. And with cogs, they become good because they gain the mobility that they need with cogs, because they can reliably.
I have been alpha striked by executioners.
They're uniformly +2 to cast, Paul, perpetually.
And 3
every
if
single
you want to take
sorcerer.
a Blackguard out. It's
say what?
And 3 if you want to take a Blackguard out.
Yeah,
because they get +1 to cast with the sacrifice thing.
No, the who? What do you have? Like the sacrifice is
I'm
+2.
thinking of the command trait that gives them +1 to cast Unbind. That's what I was.
Yes,
saying.
yeah. The command trait is +1, and then they get, if they sacrifice, they get a static +2.
Yeah.
So like you're just gonna have a bunch of trash models around at all points in time, because that's what the army is majority trash models, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna sack those dudes for +2 to cast perpetually, like across the army. And so they have the casting bonus that you need. Their default
the one spell they have is nice.
The default spell is -1 to hit.
Yeah.
And so like they can easily get to a -3 to hit on like because they can run Geminids and they're going to get Geminids off.
Yep.
And they can run the Ishelin caster who also has the -1 to hit spell as an ally. And so they can actually they can throw around -3 to hit wherever they need it on the battlefield. Like they're a 1-drop. On top of all of this, they can be a 1 to 2 drop. Because their battalion is 1 to 6 sorceresses or sorceresses on Black Dragon, which is all of their heroes. And then like 2 units or 3 units of like the Black Guard, or like no, 1 Black Guard, 1 Executioner unit, and then 3 to 6 units or 3 to 4 units of all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
And so they will 1-drop plus any allies. So I mean, and they have like the immunity to combat artifact. Like they have one of those, and so they could double up and do doppelganger cloak and that, so get 2 models that gain immunity to comp. Like so, like they're a 6 or they're a 6. They're 3. They're a 3, but nobody has really pulled it off yet. Like nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that they're a weak 3.
Yeah.
Who else going to say 3?
I'm going to say they're a 1, and I'm going to lay it at the feet of their 5-up save dragon sorceress.
Right.
That you
the
don't
one you never take.
The one that's not on the table.
I'm just saying it's fucking stupid. No dread. I have fucking a 5-up save. 1.
Hey, Archmage on Dragon has a 5-up save, and he's pretty good.
And fuck that guy too.
Hey, Executioner
No, I think
4-up though. Like that's pretty decent for all your dudes. It's just a -1 the hit turns off their damage hard. It goes away.
Yeah.
Like if you're fighting Dryads, you just won't do anything ever. You know.
Right.
But yeah, if people are going to say 1s, then I'll say 3s. But I think they're a strong 2, like an upper 2. If someone would actually do the thing that no one's going to do.
I'm going to stick with 2 because I can see the point of 3, but I'm docking them again for their irrelevance. Nobody's going to play them.
Well, that's what we're doing here. You know, we're letting people know
them on the
it's
map.
okay to try.
Right.
And so I'm not going to double down on punishing people for that. Everyone already thinks they're trash because it's just like one of those random shattered factions that have no rules.
But they don't know.
Yeah, we don't want. I don't want to give the impression that these are trash. These are not trash.
More of them. You don't want more of them out there. I see.
Anybody think these guys are a gatekeeper army?
God
no. No, they're not doing anything unique other than that hellish penalty to hit, which they can just kind of toss around for fun. And again, they're +2 to cast, so like even Nagash, like he's not auto unbinding them.
And sometimes they're getting a spell. They're getting an unbind or 2 at him as well.
Yeah.
At +2 or 3, depending.
Right.
I don't think their bonus is plus unbind. I think it's just a cast.
It's not. It's just a cast.
Oh, is it just a cast? All right.
Yeah, it is just a cast. It's like in that phase. So you're sacrificing a model each turn. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
Interesting. It's an army I would never even look twice at.
Yeah, and they're perpetually battle shock immune because they can sacrifice. If they sacrifice a model, they can make the unit battle shock immune.
Yeah.
Pretty. And so they have like and they can get the reroll. They get some reroll buffs in their command, like in their allegiance abilities. Like they're actually okay. Like they're not terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is another one of those armies that I wouldn't mind collecting because I could use the Raging Heroes models, which are great.
Yeah.
That and the Witch Elves.
Man, Rob and them said I was crazy on their show, and look, now I got people agreeing with me. I'm so pleased.
No, like I mean,
not even an attempt at humility. I'm pleased.
Welcome to the club.
All right. So we got 2 more that don't actually have allegiance abilities, but are relatively intact factions that we could see getting allegiance abilities at any time. You know, if a new book dropped or they decided in the next GHB to give them rules, which I was hoping both of these would get rules in the most recent GHB, and they didn't because, I don't know, maybe Games Workshop just likes dropping giant turds on people's chests. That's fine.
Look, when you have a second edition, you can't expect that they update everybody's rules to the second edition. I mean, what do you think? They have employees?
I know. You would think that they didn't have like, I don't know, like 100 million pounds on their balance sheet, and so they wouldn't be able to have those kind of resources.
They're passing it forward. They're raising everyone's wages, I think I heard a news story like that. So good on you. But hire an intern to change all the old war scrolls. You know, give them a little facelift.
Yeah.
For a new edition.
So in light of that, first, Devoted of Sigmar.
1. Moving on.
Yeah. Yep. You said anything but 1 for these guys.
I'll go. If everybody says 1, I'll give them a 2 because they're better than just a 1-0.
I don't even know if they're better than a 1. Oh, you mean like a 5-round tournament? You think they could win 1 game and so they should be a 2?
No, I think they might go, depending on their matchups, depending on who they might go 2 or 3. They got some pretty strong mechanics. It's a 1 quality, but
if they run 2 War Altars and they face all Chaos opponents, they could do some work.
Which, frankly, they could, because if you're not facing Stormcast in a tournament, you're facing Khorne. So,
I mean, maybe. I think that
I don't even know what 1 means if that's your reason for going 2.
Yeah, like I think they're a 1. I think they're a 1. Like I want them to be better than a 1. I like what they're doing, but the way that their synergy with like the Battle Shock immunity ability, removing the ability for the fanatics to pile in and attack, because that never actually happens. Like, because of the way the wording is, the fanatic, the flagellant ability doesn't actually like fire off for the fanatic, and because of that, like the 2 abilities are working counter to one another. It's a 1. Like it's like Vince and I were gonna run a double Devoted of Sigmar army for Holy Havoc. Like that was the original plan.
That's a funny.
It was either that. Like when we were playing last year, it was either double Devoted Sigmar or double Daughters of King. And this is before we knew any books were coming out. And as soon as the Daughters dropped, we're like, well, looks like we're running Daughters.
A big spike in power from your
and that's like 180-degree difference in power, too.
You turned 360 and moonwalked away.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. But again, we were doing it for flavor. The irony being, like, we didn't realize the meth injection that one of those armies was about to get. So all that to say, like, I've done the math. I've looked at the Devoted. I want to make them work, but they're a 1. In general, like in an open, like 5-game GT, they're a 1.
Yeah, I really, really want them to get a new book and releases. Beyond that, they're garbage, though. Like, until they actually get that thing, they're hot garbage.
So imagine a world where they could be included. So think about the Beasts of Chaos and how they're functioning now, Beasts of Chaos, where like you can have Bray herds mixed into the Beasts of Chaos and they still maintain their allegiance in the midst of like the other like sub mini factions. Imagine Devoted of Sigmar being able to function in that capacity in Stormcast.
Yeah.
So it maintains a Stormcast allegiance, but suddenly you can have fanatics in there. And you remember those body issue that we were having a problem with? That resolves itself immediately.
Yeah.
You think there's a body issue in wargaming? I'm sorry, I don't mean to get everyone on another tangent. Apologies.
You need bodies to win the game.
Never mind.
Yeah,
it's funny. I get it.
I mean, there was a fantastic gallery of pictures of a guy posing with ass cracks at some Warhammer.
It was a Magic tournament.
A Magic tournament. And it was fantastic.
He got banned for life for basically hurting the brand and bullying people.
Yeah, and fuck Wizards of the Coast for doing that because, like, sorry, like that's legitimately funny. It was a joke. You need to learn how to take a joke.
It's trolling level 100. Okay.
Yeah, it's just if I was in charge of Wizards, I would have banned him too. He's making our brand look bad. Like that's it. Sure, it was funny as a person, but
like no, he's not making your brand look bad. All of those fucking people that he was taking pictures of are making your brand look bad.
Without their consent to publicly mock them, that was a mean thing to do.
Yes.
I know it's trolling, obviously, but still.
I mean, the line that I personally draw for it was the guy
Right
that
down
was
the middle.
that guy too. like it wasn't like he was just trolling his own people. like that's perfectly okay with me. Anyway, moving on. Swift Hawk agents.
One.
Could I possibly give them a 0?
3.
They're 2s. They're 2s.
Yeah.
They are.
No.
The only thing bad I have to say about them is that most of their models are no longer for sale.
Right.
Like, if they were, they'd be another like Darkling Covens where you could legitimately play them and they'd be like a 2 or whatever. I think.
Yeah. What I would say is this. Like, there's some synergies in there that I like. First of all, the fact that Reavers went bumped down to like 140 points is scandalous.
They're awesome.
They are, and they're probably one of the most amazing generic battle line order units in the game.
Yep.
They certainly rank up there because of what they do for their points.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is that what is keeping Swift Hawk agents in the game, for me, is the fact that their Sky Wardens have never been nerfed. So the banner on the Sky Warden is a 12-inch bubble, a 12 or 18-inch bubble that's not wholly within, that gives a generic +1 to wound that stacks in the army. And this is on a 160-point model. So it's not difficult to give your entire army +2 to +3 to wound. Just across. Everybody wounds on 2s perpetually. Okay? The fact that you can give them a magical item that, like, now they do mortals on 6s to wound, where now they're doing mortals on, like, 3s and 4s. Like, it's Judgment Blade for wounds. They don't have any good attackers for that, which is the problem. Like, multi-attackers. But all of their models, and you can get a lot of bodies in Swift Hawk agents wounding on 2s perpetually. And now that you can get a Knight of Zeros as an ally who gives everybody reroll 1s to hit, so they're now perpetually on reroll 1s to hit, 2s to wound across the army. Like, they will catch people with their pants down. Back when they still had their battalion, which, like, even though it has match play points have never been updated and they never acknowledged it. That battalion was rocking. Because it moves Swordmasters into the army, because it gives them all the keywords. So it actually makes, like, Swordmasters Swift Hawk agents. It gives them the Swift Hawk agents keyword. And it moves an Archmage into the army as non-allied, gives them the keyword. Back when that was a thing, and it gives them a hero phase shooting or shooting, like a hero phase shooting. Like, back when that was, like, out there, they were a surprisingly good army. They were a strong 2 then. Now, I would say they're a 2.
Sense in what you're saying, Tom.
Yeah, I think they're still a 2. They're just not as good of a 2.
Yeah. Anybody else voting for a 2?
Yeah. I'm not a rules guy, but, like, again, there's something to be said about them, like, Shadow Warrior models and just the whole aesthetic of the whole army and everything. Like, it's gorgeous. It moves fast on the table, so you're gonna be able to swing around and grab objectives like nobody's business.
Yep.
And then you just die.
We're not saying they don't have their problems. They're just low 2, I think.
Yeah, they got to catch you first.
Des, what do you think?
I don't know enough to say more than a 1.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm saying 2, but I'm happy people have said 1 to move it down a little because it's a very low 2.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think?
1.
1. In any way, is this a gatekeeper?
No. Irrelevant.
No, there is a gatekeeper. The fact that they don't sell the models and you can't buy them.
Yep. All right.
eBay is your gatekeeper.
All All right, so we are officially done with order.
Nice. That didn't take as long as I thought it might.
We didn't do Order Draconis. Somebody in chat requested that.
Oh, 3 easily. Your army has two models in it, and you're just spamming them. But your battalion is good, and your excellent Alpha Strike. Those Dragon Breaths will do work. You can have 3 artifacts, 1 on each of your Dragon Lords. That makes them all great. Solid flying Alpha Strike army that scoops up points with Dragon Blades behind. It's a 3.
I'm going 1. I feel like there's, I think anything that they're doing is just like fluky and weird, and like I don't think there's anything that is consistent about its success.
Fair enough.
I don't even know anything about the army. I think my experience with Order Draconis is hearing secondhand on somebody in a local tournament taking them and just not doing well. So
that's my assessment. I've never even heard that much. I just have to say, never hearing anything about them.
Barack?
Experience.
I agree with Haywo. It's a 3. I don't think enough emphasis is being put on like the mobility of stuff, and like those Dragon Riders are all re-rolling their saves. Like it's a good army. Yeah, you're spamming like the same shit, but
yeah, I think that's part of
stuff. Like
you're getting like +3 attacks on all the Dragon's weapons and stuff, and albeit during 1 turn, obviously, but you know they can throw down. They're not the best. They're a low 3. And hardly anyone plays them at all. And often the few people who do are just like using stuff they owned in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. It's sort of like the Darkling Coven problem, or Dispossessed, where it's like most of the people who play them is just like leftover stuff they used to own, and they're trying to make it work. And that's not like, what the army is. We're not talking about Stormcast when people are on, full hunters and stuff with the stupid little crossbows. Like, we're talking about good lists.
Like, this entire army, the stuff in it is like move 10. I mean, you're good fights. Like it's
move 14 flying, 14 wounds on the Dragon Lords for 340.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to argue their case too long. They're pretty good. I'm not a gatekeeper because no one plays them. So
this is the army that Mason plays, Paul. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not scared of them.
I would gladly paste them any day of the week.
Yep.
Tom appears to be away.
He's got a phone call. So,
what do we think Tom would say about this?
He'd say 2 or 3 because he keeps up with the tournament scene.
He likes elves.
I'll give him a 2.
You will say 2. Yeah, that's a safe one for Tom. Phoenix Temple.
All right. So did we have any other requests out of order that we have not talked about yet?
Technically Phoenix Temple, although just running that 100-point undercosted nonsense monster is sort of like the only reason why people do that, and they play it in mixed order instead, so I guess we can skip it. Yeah. Phoenix Guard are really strong. Like, they're super durable.
Yeah,
Phoenix Guard are great in mixed order.
Yeah, they're your 25 mil base Volkite Berserkers.
Yeah.
I feel like there are more elf factions. Like, who does Swordmasters belong to?
That is Elder Council. No, not Elder Council. Yeah, it is Elder Council, I think, is Swordmasters.
Yeah, Eldritch Council.
So irrelevant.
Well, they don't have battle lines. So oh, wait, maybe they do? I don't know. Yeah, they are basically irrelevant. That's fine.
We'll just put that under GA order.
Same with like Order Serpentis. Did we talk about them? I can't even remember.
No, we didn't.
Okay, well, they're a 1.
Like, there's so much shit that's just like, yeah I guess we could.
In favor of this episode ever being over, we can skip past that stuff.
We need to stop for a second and talk about the Scourge Privateers.
Okay, it's a 1. It's a hard 1.
They
I honestly think that
having a model with a peg leg.
I think that model, the Scourge Privateer, is the worst model that GW makes, in my opinion. I hate it.
Yeah, like in no way does it even make sense being in this game. Like, why are there random elf pirates?
I'm so annoyed that they bundled that in with the Hammerhall box set because I really like Warhammer Quest, but I hate that model.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about
the Scourge Privateers?
Oh, somebody woke up.
We have a feed.
What's happening?
Yeah, we have a feed.
So Tom, now that you're back, Order Draconis. What's your rating on Order Draconis?
I think they're a 3.
Really?
Boom! I called it. I think I do, and they're actually performing very well out in the UK right now.
What's really funny
UK doesn't know how to play.
3 3s and 3 1s on Order Draconis. It's like our most contentious one.
Really interesting. They're really good, and they have an Alpha Strike to write home about, and they have great allies because they have the elves as their allied option, so they can get some of the nice spellcasters in there.
Yeah,
or Phoenix.
All right, so I think we are at this point done with Order. So let's move on to Grand Alliance Chaos. Mixed Chaos.
That's almost like saying mixed order. There's so much you can throw in there that it's almost impossible to get a coherent idea of what you can do. I would have to say 3 just for generic chaos privilege.
I 3, and that's because they have like the cheapest battle line. So you can totally min out your battle line with like 3 units of 10 Ungor for 180 points, and then just like fill your other units with good stuff. Like
they did nerf that. You used to be able to take like 10 Clan Rats or 10 Marauders for 60 points, but you can't do that anymore. Now you have to take them in units of 20. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the strength of Order is having battle line that is good. And so I don't know that you want to skimp on it.
Well, that's the thing, too. They have good battle line as well. You've got Chaos Warriors, you've got Demonettes, you've got Bloodletters, you've got, like, all this stuff is just generic battle line for mixed chaos. So, like...
I think 2.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2 because I don't know what that list looks like. Maybe the All Skaven list? But the problem is that, like... They don't have the raw firepower in those generic units, and like I don't know what those things are doing that like the god aligned armies aren't doing better. Like you said, Bloodletters. Okay, well the Bloodletters like in Khorne is just going to be turned up to 11. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like that's my issue with it really too. Is I feel like on the chaos side of things, like you're so much of that is reliant on either
synergy.
It's all reliant on synergy, and if you're going with the Grand Alliance, you're losing a lot of your synergies. So I feel like it's harder to put together like a best of chaos that looks as good as best of Order.
Yeah,
it's harder now than it was.
Yes, like when Sail was just
right. Sail was
like anybody around 18 inches. It was very different, but now it's not nearly as good. Like
they also don't have the standouts in the actual Grand Alliance, like abilities, like command traits and items themselves.
Yeah,
like that's another thing that makes Order stand out is that like you get the Battle Shock immunity bubble.
It's inspiring. It's the best one.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's better than many specialized things.
Inspiring is what is it like the is it a 6-inch bubble or
it's a 6-inch, but that's not wholly within. So you have to have one model and then the whole unit becomes Battle Shock.
You don't have to activate it, it's just always on. So
the Crown of Conquest does that. 6 inches, it's an artifact, but it does that.
On a 5-up.
On a 5-up.
Nope.
Is it a 5-up?
No, they did change it. They did. Hold on. They did change it. Let's be clear. They did change it.
Yeah.
battle shock tests while they're within 6 inches of the bearer. Straight up.
Thank
Right.
you.
Right.
So it's the
Yes.
same thing. And
It is the same thing. But why it is not good?
It's an artifact.
Yeah.
It's an artifact.
That's why.
Right. And so it takes up your one item.
I mean, I think that the Lord of War, even though it's a 3-up now, is still. I mean, +1 to hit is awesome, and then Cunning Deceiver is awesome too.
But Cunning Deceiver is just bonus points. It's not the -1 to hit anymore.
Yeah, I'm much.
Yeah, they changed it.
Oh, I'm going to downgrade mine to a 2 then.
Yeah, they don't have Cunning Deceiver anymore. That's a problem.
I much prefer the like Lord of Mayhem or whatever, where it gives you +1 to your Unbridled Malice roll.
Malicious.
So it's on a 5 instead of a 6.
Yeah, Des, what are you saying on this?
I'll say 2.
Yeah. You know, what I'll say is Doom and Darkness was basically running. He has been running like this general mixed chaos best of sort of list. I mean, I think he went like 3-2 at CanCon with it.
Yep.
And that was GHB1. In fairness, it was GHB1. So things have changed since then, but I think he is definitely a very competent player, putting together, I think, one of the better mixed Grand Alliance Chaos lists that you could put together. And he went 3-2 in a major tournament with it. So I'm really hard pressed to get more than a 2 when you have like what you know is a very competent player that we all respect that went 3-2 with a major with it.
Whoa, let's not go crazy here.
Yeah, respect is pretty strong language. Sorry, Doom.
He knows I'm joking.
And also, so definitely not a gatekeeper army, I assume, for anybody.
No,
because I don't know what
it's
in
too
this.
generic. Grand Alliance Chaos Army could be anything.
Yeah.
So you might as well just say it's not a gatekeeper because any one of those things that it could do, you could put under a different army heading.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you could say that like Grand Alliance Order is a gatekeeper in a way because it's like, well, what am I going to do about Phoenixes? Maybe I'll have to play one, and that's an army that's a model that needs an answer.
Yeah,
typically.
Yeah, and there really isn't anything like that in
Chaos. There isn't anything like that in GA Chaos as far as I've seen. So,
Average Life?
No.
No, those just suck.
They don't suck. They just
no, they're good.
It's one of the many like, don't get into melee with it with something you care about, guys. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the throw 10
you should already be
and
running
explode
guys that you don't care about. So.
Right.
Yeah, but what's going to happen when that new book comes out? And
we'll do another show and make this more correct.
Yeah. We don't know what beast, like what the beast book holds. Like that's the reality.
Good, but who knows how?
Find out tomorrow.
And they'll probably be recosted too.
Yeah.
Find out tomorrow when Gorilla Miniature Games does his fucking review on the book, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe we're doing it today early. Who knows?
Damn, I should suck up to GW so I get advanced copies of stuff too.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know who he is. I didn't mean to throw shade. I'm sorry.
I mean, I like privilege, but I am not willing to suck that much dick to get it. So
hey, you play Nurgle. You love privilege.
I'm sucking dick.
Speaking of Nurgle,
Speaking of Nurgle,
I'm giving Nurgle a 3.
Yep.
I will too.
But it's not as like crazy of a 3 as
daughters.
His daughters or something else. Like,
so I'll give it a 2 because I don't like Nurgle.
They're sort of like really good at almost everything.
Yes,
but they got their problems just like everybody else. So yeah, 3.
They have solid answers.
Yeah.
They're
and
ugly
diversity.
too.
Numbers?
What was that?
Numbers from Tom and Maroc?
2.
You give it a 2, really?
No, I'm kidding. 3. I mean, what I would say is like I don't feel confident that they're going to do anything well. That's the problem with Nurgle right now.
Yeah.
Is when I look at what my lineup is, what my options are, I just don't feel Like if I could go all mortals with a +2 to cast, I would feel a lot stronger about going mortals. But I feel like I have to mix the Guo in. And if I'm going to run a Guo, I feel like I have to run it as a bell and dagger, which means that I have to run him basically as impotent, like a big 300 and whatever point
buff
do
wagon.
nothing buff wagon. And so like I end up in this situation where I don't. And then I have a bunch of Blight Kings that their main ability will get shut off by any penalties to hit, which are prolific. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Any army can have it with Geminids. And so I like them. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I think a strong 2. I think Nurgle is honestly a strong 2. Because, like, here's the thing. Blades of Putrefaction would have, like, in the old world, I would have been like, there are 3 just because of how solid the spell is. But the new meta, the new spell meta we're in, like, there's just enough strong casters that, like, it's like being able to, like, you can't rely on, like, when we talked about daughters, I didn't mention Mind Razor once. Because it's good, but it's not reliable in the current meta with all the spellcasters and with all the strong unbinding. And I think that Nurgle suffers a lot more if they can't reliably get their spells off. They can't move the wheel, if they can't. And that's the world we live in now. And so they have a bunch of single casters in this new world. So they don't have very many double casters. Like the Guo is obviously, Glotkin is, but Glotkin's still arguably overpriced for what he's doing. Yep. I don't know. A very strong 2 or a weaker 3 is what I would say. And if everybody's going 3s, I'm going to go 2.
Marak, what do you think?
I think they're a 2. The models are gross, and they're like a jack of all trades but master of none. Like you can't do everything, like point wise. So like, yeah, they're.
What I'll say is I've been running them a lot. I haven't really played much of anything but them for like at least 6 months. And I think they're very much like a weird sort of toolbox army that actually is pretty good at all of the different tools. The wheel, I think, is really, really powerful, and I think it is people underestimate the power of it. Running a Great Unclean one that's just a buff wagon, I don't think is a waste of points. And it's also like this giant damage sink that your opponent wants to go after. And by the time they kill it, it's usually like they've directed so much power at it that it's too late, and they've let a whole bunch of your Blight Kings survive long enough to like take out tons of their stuff. Blight Cyst is ridiculous. Just giving all of your Blight Kings rend and ignoring your opponent's cover bonuses is just like off the charts ridiculous.
That's pretty good against IDK, huh?
Yes, right. It's really good against Deepkin. Like you can drop in Gutrot Spume with a unit of 10 Blight Kings on turn 1 with an extra command point in the bank for re-rolling their charge, which they get +1 on, and like the IDK bonus on their first turn doesn't mean anything at all to those Blight Kings. And if they're not running into the eels, then like you're Rend 1 and ignoring cover, so you're effectively Rend 2 against IDK round 1. I think there's just a lot of utility there that I think people are not really fully recognizing. Like the Great Unclean One spell, the Plague Wind. It heals or it does damage, or in certain circumstances it does both. Your Blight Kings are healing themselves and doing damage to your opponent. The wheel can do, it can buff your guys, it can make your guys move faster, it can do mortal wounds to your opponent, it can heal your guys, it can debuff your opponent. it can do whatever you need to do whenever you need to do it, and it can usually, when you're casting it off a green unclean one, you can easily do it at +2 to cast. So there's not a lot of things out there that are going to outcast you, like have more than a +2 unbind. That's really going to be stopping you.
The issue is almost all the best armies do and will.
Yes.
Like Nagash and somebody on Marathi, it's just like your 7-up spells that move the wheel just aren't going to resolve a lot of the time. It's painful. When you lose in the magic phase, and you wouldn't think so just looking at all of Nurgle's stuff,
yep.
But when you lose in the magic phase, it really hurts. It stings hard.
Yep.
I mean, I still think they're a 3. I just think they're a lowish 3.
Yeah,
they have all the tools to succeed, but you know, a lot of the stuff is a little rickety.
Yeah, I feel like they're not really like over the top good at anything in particular. They're just
super solid at like
they're solid at pretty much everything.
Yeah,
and that I think is really what puts them in a good position. Is that they're
Plague Monks in your lists?
I do not.
Okay. I noticed some people had started up on that.
Yeah, I mean,
high damage throwaway bodies that they can whip around that have the mortal keyword.
Yeah, so you can, and then you can cast.
Plague Monks don't have the mortal keyword.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Oh, wow. I never checked myself. I trusted the source. Apologies.
No, because the mortal is basically humans. So all of your slaves to darkness have the mortal keyword.
And that said, I think they're also just like not like a gatekeeper in particular for anything. Like I think they're just generally all around solid.
I think they are a gatekeeper because a lot of people are playing bad Nurgle lists with a million plague bearers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to be able to beat that. You're going to have to be able to beat 60 plague bearers surrounded by like a thrice full defilement or some ridiculous list like that. Like a lot of people play stuff like that.
Dead.
And so you got to be able to grind or get through that stuff, even though it's like those lists aren't very good. You know,
they won't win tournaments, but
no,
they
but
will
they're
be
gonna
spoilers.
like they're gonna tar pit you when you're trying to get to the top. And if you flip a coin, your Nurgle opponent is probably gonna have a 50% chance of playing just a billion guys who do nothing except don't die.
Yep.
And you have to figure out a way to win on objectives through that.
Need to apply more witches.
You said, Paul, everything that I would say.
Directly to burn. What was that?
You said
But do you agree not a gatekeeper though?
Huh?
Do you agree not a gatekeeper?
Oh,
no, I thought they were a gatekeeper. That was my
I would
point.
say they are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just not like. I feel like most of the time they're not doing anything in particular that's like a particular thing that your opponent has to get over.
It's like the poster child for make sure you have +2 to unbind on your dudes, so that you can stuff Nurgle in the spell phase and like have a real go at the rest of the game.
Yep. Maroc, what do you think?
I'm kind of in the. I would say gatekeeper, yes, only because like there's a lot of people running a shit ton of plague bears, and you need to be able to fucking rip through that shit. And like, yeah, so I would say yes.
If you can't grind plague bearers, you're not like your list is gonna like it will end up being like for low damage lists. It's going to be like it becomes a gatekeeper. Like things that are like focused fully on objective play that can't actually grind. This and like death lists who can regen models are the worst.
Brian, what do you think?
I'm not scared of Nurgle. I beat you.
All right. So this one is like speculation, really. Because we get the book coming out soon and we don't know the answers. Beasts of Chaos.
No,
3.
stop.
All in.
Wild
Stop.
speculation. Chaos.
We have a book
3.
coming out, so we don't know. That's it. That's all I'm saying. We're like 2 weeks from this being completely wrong, whatever we say.
Okay, I just want to say that based on like what I've seen from the Herdstone and their endless spell, I'm gonna say they're gonna be a 3, depending on where you're able to put that Herdstone.
Yeah, like we don't know if they're changing point values on units. Like, and that's the big thing. Like, it would not surprise me at all because right now you can run 200 body Beastmen armies.
Oh yeah,
like, and with all those toys, like it becomes really scary. At 200 bodies. That said, I mean, with major point changes, like I don't know, we don't know enough information. What I will say is that given if you want to talk trajectories for GW releasing books, it's going to be a min 2, probably a 3.
Yeah.
So you want to give it a 2 or a 3?
2 question mark?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 2 question mark. I'm looking on Games Workshop's website now to see what Beasts of Chaos models are for sale and what are web order only. And they have enough here where I think they want to sell some models. So I think the power creep on this one is going to be a little higher.
Yeah, the trajectory is a good point. Every single book this year has been amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, who's to say that this one won't be? I suppose. But my answer is not applicable.
An ever-expanding bubble of -1 to your armor. That's all I'm going to say.
And I've lost games to WarHAMMERED before, so
yeah. And like, excuse my French, and Night Haunt gives fuck all about that -1 to rend bubble and the -1 to rend spell. And like,
it's not the spell doesn't -1 rend. The spell -1 to your hit roll.
No, like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one that there's a spell that increases rend by 1.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Do we
everybody's
going to end up being a gatekeeper army?
Say what?
Anybody think this is going to end up being a gatekeeper army?
I think it will be in about 4 or 5 months when people start actually having this army fielded.
Yeah, for sure. When it actually starts, based on
it's only just now that people are fielding Daughters of Cain. So
I mean, the reaction that I've seen from the community about all this stuff has been generally like super positive. Like people are really happy about this. I think this arm popular, and you're going to see it. So yes, I do think so.
Yeah, I mean, when Daughters of Cain book released, and I'm just like, oh, so 90 Witch Elves is just the best thing to be doing. And only now are people just barely starting to like finish that. And
90 Witch Elves in 1,000-point games.
Yeah. And so who knows how long it'll take people to get on the Beastmen train. But I mean, that being said, there's a ton of Beastmen players who just have 5,000 points of it sitting around and they're ready to go. And there's no new models like there were with DOK. And so they can play that shit day one.
Right. They could be painting yesterday.
Yep.
And many were, in fact.
Yeah. So who knows? I'm sure it'll be popular. I'm sure a bunch of people will play it. And the more people who play your army, no matter what it does, the more chances it has of being a gatekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Khorne. What do we think on Khorne?
3.
Really?
I think it has the tools to go the distance.
Yeah, I'm going to agree there. 3.
I'm putting it as a 2. I feel like most of the stuff that Khorne does, Ironjaws does better.
No, disagree.
Like summoning?
100% disagree.
Like their awesome summoning?
I think it's exactly the opposite. Khorne does everything Ironjaws does, but better.
Yep. Tell me about the Ironjaws unit that's dishing out mortal wounds.
Tell me about the Khorne unit that's actually getting across the battlefield turn 1.
Okay, so here's your Wrath of Khorne Thirster, what's giving it run and charge. Here's your
your Stoker, Wrath of Khorne Thirster.
Here's your Whippy guy that's giving it +3. I mean, it's
Or your
cogs. Josh has this army. It's been on my YouTube channel forever. He gets He gets 30 or 20 blood rudders to you first turn, full stop, every game. It's just that's Iron Jaws can't do that. Iron Jaws can get lucky with their dice rolls and maybe do it.
No, Iron Jaws can get in first turn whole army. Like, there's no question about that. Like, Iron Jaws absolutely can do that.
Sure, like, you're taking the stupid gore fist, but you'd have to be silly to do that.
No,
there are a lot of silly Ironjaw players out there.
There's a one drop. Like, Vince has a one drop army that does this. Trust me.
Yeah.
And it'll send the entire army in at the top of one. So
that's
like all across the line.
Bloodtooth?
Yeah, the Bloodtooth.
Bloodtooth. Yeah.
Yep. Because of the way that the WOG works and the moving the 6 inches and the double, like it's pretty gross.
If your dice rolls get there, sure.
It has the dice rolls for it. Like, that's what I'll say. Because like all the mega bosses are on 4-up. Like, you only need like one of like one.
No. Just your general. If your general is a mega boss, you can do the destruction move on a 4-up. That's it. Whole stop. It's not all mega bosses. I thought the same thing.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough with the summoning. I think that brings it from a 2 to a 3.
It's also tough because I don't see Khorne on any of the top tables, and that's really weird to me.
I think
even though they just won Nova
bases is like all you need is a chaff wall in front of Khorne to completely stop that Alpha Strike.
Yeah, but that's going to stop Ironjaws too for one turn, right?
Yeah, but then the problem with Khorne is that like your Alpha Strike is a whole bunch of bloodletters that have a 5-up save. And you're just going to get into them and just rip them apart if you have anything with good offense.
Yeah, but the thing is that you have to understand that the blood letters are the sacrifice unit. It gets there, it does the Alpha Strike, and if it does 40 or 50 mortal wounds, great. If it gets destroyed, he expects that. He has 8 other units next to it to come right after you. The thing with the Khorne list is that it's one of those lists where target prioritization is very tough because he's got many units, they all do good things, and he can put them in places to force you to deal with certain things. I think it's not an easy list to destroy, but it is an easy alliance to misplay, I will say.
I hugely agree with that, especially that last part. The play style is completely not as advertised. It's almost false advertising. You're like, I'm going to play Death Clock the army and just fly across the board and just win. And if you play like that, you'll lose huge. It's much more nuts and bolts than diagrams of Holy Within and all sorts of crap. You have to think ahead. You got to plan out your blood tithe because for some stupid reason it all goes away when you use some of it. It's a thinking man's army, even though you wouldn't think so based on how like preposterous everything looks for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I would really liken it very much to like the red aggro decks in Magic. Like it seems like they really are like stupid autopilot decks, but you really need to think a lot to play them.
Right. That classic P Sully business. Yeah. This one's hard for me to rate. It's hard to get my what could I say? It's hard to get my stereotypes of the average Khorne player out of my head when I'm rating it. Because it's like the average Khorne list you see is a 1. And it's played that way.
Yep.
But I think it has the potential of being like 3, probably a low 3, but maybe a 3. So I gotta, it's definitely a gatekeeper. That's the easy one. That's the easy part of this.
Yeah.
Was everybody saying 3s and stuff? I'll say 2, I guess.
I'll say 3.
Barack, you got a rating for these guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a 3, and this is gonna be placed squarely on the back of my favorite unit, well, almost favorite unit in the game, Wrathmongers. A unit that fucking kills stuff when they die, just making them rip themselves apart. I mean, it's fucking fantastic, man. That's awesome. They're giving +1 attack to people all around them. I mean, come on. Win, man. They're fucking awesome.
Vince brings up a good point in chat here, which is that if you take IJ and run them in turn 1, you will get destroyed. Like you'll end up losing because it's usually a really bad strategy. And that's often the case for a lot of like quote unquote alpha strike armies, or we'll say maybe I don't want to say the bad alpha strike armies, but like the ones that don't enjoy all the privilege that the best armies have, I guess. Is that just running across the table and hitting your opponent is asking to get countercharged off the table.
Yep.
Right.
And it almost always happens that way as well.
And no, Vince, the Iron Jaws movement does not move you your movement speed. It moves you 6 inches. I don't know where you're getting that from.
Iron Jaws? No, Iron Jaws is their move value.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing that? Is that in an FAQ?
In the book?
I just looked at the General's Handbook thing. It's if you're outside 12, you move 6 inches.
What are we talking about?
The Iron Jaws movement. Vince is saying you move your movement. No, it's not right.
Battle traits. Roll a dice in your hero phase for your general, and each friendly Iron Jaw hero. Add 2 to the roll for your general if they are a mega boss. On a 6-up, pick a friendly Iron Jaw unit. Yeah, on a 6-up, pick a friendly Iron Jaw unit wholly within 12 of the model being rolled for. That unit can immediately make a normal move if it is more than 12 inches from the enemy.
Is that the GHP 18 or 17?
Yeah, that's 18. That's the newest one.
Yeah, 17 was 6 inch, I think. Because
17 was 6 inch. The newest one is a flat their movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means that your Gore Gruntas are going 9, not 6.
Yeah, Gore Gruntans are going 9. You're going to get +1 to charge generic. You're going to get another +1 to run and charge from the battalion. And they're going to all...
Obviously, that's better, but that's not what I'm seeing in my book here.
I can take a screenshot image of the GHP 2018.
Yeah, I got 18 open. It says normal move.
Okay, well that's better then I'm wrong, and I apologize. But
Yeah,
I'm looking.
so,
I'm looking on the app, and that's not what it says.
Got it. And then and then like you can get a caster that's easily +2 to cast if you want to get cogs in there for +2 to run and charge. Like there's all these tools to get everything in. And then everything that's not your heroes is going to get the D6 movement from Iron Fist as well. So because it's the Bloodtooth uses an Iron Fist. So yeah, it's
all right. So
anyways,
back to Khorne. Does anybody not think that this is a gatekeeper army?
It's a hugely popular army that tons of people play. It's definitely a gatekeeper.
Yeah, it's a gatekeeper. Like it's one of those.
It's the second half of the poster child for you need to be able to take your opponent's overextended, poorly thought out hit.
Yep.
And just absorb it and then win the game immediately because that was a bad play, usually.
Yep.
Not always.
I'm gonna have to bow out, folks. Or I apologize.
All right.
No, thanks for being here.
Splendid evening, sir.
Have a nice evening.
Later, Tom.
All right. So everybody's favorite Chaos God, Tzeentch. What do we think?
Are we using realm spell lores? If so, 3, otherwise 2.
Personally, I would give it a 2 at this point. I feel like it got such a nerf with all of the new stuff that it's just not what it used to be at all.
It got a change. I thought they liked change.
Yeah. I feel like it's a 3 because they've got like all these crazy summoning shenanigans that they can do now. You've still got the cheater Tzeentch dice. Like,
I'm very surprised about that. I can't believe they kept that.
Yeah, I think that the Destiny dice alone make this a 3 army.
Guys, what do you think?
I mean, that's a little strong, but yeah, the Destiny dice are definitely busted.
Because I mean, you got the Destiny dice, but you also have the fact that they have many casters and multiple casters, and then every time somebody casts, they get points for summoning, and so it's yes, everything that was good is now more points than it was, but that just makes it even with everything else that's good now.
And now you get to take like an army of Zangor with some like Beastman stuff.
Zangor are very good.
Yeah, so like it's gonna be crazy in the next couple of weeks what people come up with now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just nowhere near as good as it used to be.
Well, yeah. At least we can all agree on that. Like,
I still think it's a gatekeeper, though. I mean, I think you're going to see it still a lot.
I think so. I think a lot of people went out and got his armies.
What are you giving it for a rating, Des?
I don't know. I think they're already strong. A little bit of points nerfs, but the summoning is crazy. That's all they do is cast all day, and summoning I think is really strong. So I think
Tom's no longer here, so I'll play him. Let's be clear, it wasn't a little bit of a points nerf.
Yeah.
It was a nuclear bomb. Now there are those who would say that they were technically playing with probably like 2,400 points worth of power before, and that's something else. But no, the point increases were massive all over the place. If you want to play a change host today that you used to be playing in first ed, it's like 2,500 points. It's crazy. Yep. Now, I still think they're good. They're just good in a totally different way that requires you buying all the models almost. Sorry for interrupting, but I had to play Tom.
Sorry. Yeah, I think I'll lean towards a 3.
Everybody agreeing this is a gatekeeper, though?
Yeah.
Is this mostly 3s we got here?
Yeah. I mean, they have crazy magic ability. I mean, that just... If you can't deal with their magic in some way, they're going to shut down your magic unless you're Nagash. And
even then, it's still going to be tough.
Yeah.
Just because of the sheer number of spells you're going to be casting. Like, yeah, he's got 8 unbinds, but you're going to cast fucking like 16 spells.
And
so,
you got to remember that, you know,
probably just 12 right away.
It's very easy to stay outside 30 inches in the first turn or two. So, and then plus spell portal. So, I mean, you can start wiping out skeletons from across the board uncontested.
Mm-hmm.
Chat brings up Cursling, which is the best new general, I think, of the army for that extra unbind range for stealing spells. Yeah, they've got tons of little tricks. They're very good.
Yep.
I mean, go ahead and steal Hand of Dust. I mean,
I think more and more tournaments will start using the Realm spell lores. I think that's just, you know, inevitably people will just get on board with using those, and so I'll say 3.
All right, so what do we think of Slaanesh?
I think a book's coming out pretty soon. So
at the moment, I'd give it a 1.
Whoa.
I wouldn't go that far.
You're way too hard on them. Do you not like them personally?
No, I just think that it's probably closer to a 2, and so everybody's going to take 2. I don't think they're a solid 2, so I'm going to go 1.
They're like almost excellent right now. It's just that I mean, yeah, if you're going to go 1, then I'm going to say 3, I think.
Yeah, no, say 2, because I'm going 3, like, hard.
Hey, that's coaching.
Everything that I love about this game is in the Slaanesh army. You get to summon stuff. You get to fly around the board on, like, motorized boob worms, which is, like, amazing. you have like an insane amount of attacks that gets to be more attacks because they didn't get their fucking unmodified hit roll of a 6 tacked on there like everybody else did. So at least at the moment, you still get like a blender of attacks. You've got decent mortal wound output with all of your like your chariots and stuff. Your the Exalted Keeper of Secrets letting you immediately pile in an attack again in either your combat phase or your opponent's. Like it's
well,
like
just a second time, but yeah, like it
I think the entire army is on a 5-up save. I think their entire army is 4-up to hit, and mobility is overrated.
I think mobility is one of the best things to be doing.
I could not disagree with you more. Mobility is like the strongest ability in the game. Like
typically they're not going to get kill points, you know, but they're going to win the scenario very often. And nobody knows what any of this stuff does, which works very well for them.
Like a block of 30 demonettes, they're on 25 mil bases. They have 2 attacks apiece. They're getting extra attacks on 5s. If you're giving them, like, I'm pretty sure you can give them +1 to hit with like a banner artifacts. So now they're getting extra attacks on 4s, 5s, and 6s at -1 rend. Like, yeah, it's 1 damage each, but it's just like you're throwing 100 dice at it and getting more attacks.
Yeah, I mean, they're all really fragile, but they come from downtown to fight you because their movement is so insane. And so it acts as a protection in a way, I think.
And like Hellstriders, like, yeah, we don't have armor, but we're gonna -1 to hit you. Like, so like
doesn't stack anymore.
Oh, it doesn't stack anymore?
It still stacks.
Yeah.
Welcome to the party, Vince.
Oh, Vince is back. And
Hi.
back here in the first place.
Call me the stand-in for Tom. Like, whatever. There's a language argument about it. The general interpretation, as most tournaments have ruled it, is that it does stack because the Ennie's in the wrong place. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, solid 2. Just mark me down. Keep going in your column, Paul. I'll stand in for Tom. Just put this as the Warhammer Weekly column. My Siege vote was a solid 2. So there you go.
Also, their summoning is much better than I initially thought. There's some fun little things you can do with it.
It's fantastic summoning. Slanesh is a solid 2. It'll trend toward it. When a book comes out, it'll dunk on 3 all day.
Yeah, I think so.
That I can get behind.
Yeah. Like, I love them. They do some really fun stuff. I totally agree on the mobility, but they have some hard limitations. And, you know, Joe, one of the things you mentioned earlier was like running into bear traps. This army has a lot of bear traps out there. Like, that's just hard reality for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, my 3 was to counteract the 1, but
which is fair. One is insane. One is you haven't played them since the new rules.
That is true. I have not played them since the new rules.
Because if you saw how the depravity summoning works, it's so redonk. Like, you gen out heroes like you've got a factory that is literally just generating keepers of secrets, like, and exalted chariots. But and by the way, don't just think of them as demons. Obviously, there is a good moral contingent here, right? We have things you can bring in like Chaos Warrior blocks that can be, you know, plenty resilient and all that, as well as knights if you want to move fast and hit hard, like Slanesh knights, Chaos knights move super fast. So you still have access to all that chaos marked crap. Yeah. But that being said, none of that makes them not a 2.
Quick shout out to Sigvold there. He is like the perfect dude to put the Sword of Judgment on because he gets +1 to hit naturally against heroes and monsters. So you're getting that wounds on 5s. Yeah.
And he has 6 attacks base, and his own command ability makes it so when he rolls a 5 to hit and triggers the Sword of Judgment, he automatically gens another attack as well. Yeah. So like he doesn't meet, if he goes first, he doesn't meet a monster or hero he doesn't kill. Like Sigvald will Silver Shard cuts through.
He is the duelist after all, and so he
is the world's perfect duelist.
Oh yeah, and he's got that shield, so he's got a 5-up save against mortal wounds. Like he's the little monster
for 100 points.
Yep.
Des, what did you think on this one?
I think I haven't seen depravity in action, to be honest. I think they sound like a 2, but I know they're from playing in last edition. They are scary. It can be scary.
What do we think of this as a gatekeeper army?
No.
No, but it will be.
Absolutely. It absolutely will be come the day they get a book.
It's going to be so popular, your head will spin, I think.
You're damn right.
Actually, I don't even think you have to wait for the book. Wait until that box set of Slaanesh versus Khorne comes out. It'll happen then.
Yeah, I mean, but then we'll only get our like halfy ability, like how Nurgle just had the wheel.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's fine. Still better than nothing, I suppose.
Yeah. Hey, Vince, since we didn't get Tom's opinion on it, rating on Tzeentch real quick.
I told you, Tom's a solid 2. 2 all day.
And do you think it's a gatekeeper?
No, not right now. It will be in about 3 to 4 months once people figure out that there's a ton of actually really decent stuff in the list and people unlock the good builds. Like, there's a bunch of good stuff still in Tzeentch, and people just haven't really put it all together yet in a way that's hyper compelling yet. So, but it'll get there.
Yeah.
But right now, it's a 2.
Are you just like monster dry brushing a massive piece of terrain?
I am working on a secret project. What is this? If it goes on, I can't see my own screen here. Hold on, I'm gonna lock on me real quick and see what you can see. There you go. Yeah, I'm working on something big. There you go. All right.
That's something extraordinarily large for Vince Venturella.
Yes, it is, my friend.
Vince is painting terrain and something serious is going on.
That's not just terrain. That's like either a display board or like a piece of like siege terrain.
Wouldn't you like to know?
I think the entire internet would like to know.
Well, the entire internet is going to have to wait. You'll get to see little bits of this in the background. That's what it works for. That's why I haven't been able to join so far, because like I've been standing up and airbrushing this thing and doing like pigment work with giant brushes and stuff, which is not conducive to me talking at the same time.
Your geisha brush.
Yeah.
Colosseum.
It is.
All right.
Colosseum.
Haha.
So, up next, one that I think is going to be very controversial. Are you boys ready?
Yeah.
Skaven Clan Scryer.
2.
2 at best.
Yeah, it's a 1.5 and not a gate. That's tough because I play Scryer, so I have a personal investment in this, and in my opinion, they're not good enough. It's never going to go even 3-2.
If you play it, I
That
believe
sounds
you.
like a 1 to me.
1?
I don't know that they're that bad. I mean, they have a ton of mortal wounds. It's spectacular, but just maybe they are a 1.
I couldn't in good conscience give them 1 just based on the strength of the mortal wounds are always like just a complete deal breaker. They have them in enough abundance. They have one of the better heroes in the game. They're definitely not a 3. I mean, they just roll over and die to half the stuff in the table.
The Arch Warlock.
Yeah. The Arch Warlock on a Balewind Vortex is a beautiful thing.
Oh, he's
and
an
frankly,
yeah.
Storm Fiends are beautiful things, and Jezzails are great, and Warp Lightning Cannons are okay, but just to make a coherent list out of all that that's competitive, it can't be done. I've tried.
Yeah, and you're definitely not going all the way with them. I mean, the answer is you take 80 clan rats as your allies, so you have some kind of bodies, and you take some globies and call it a day. But for your battle line, along with your stormies, but some
$35 a piece globies.
No, that's insane. You go buy the $1. You go buy the Island of Blood, Poison Wind globies, and you just cut them into 2 dudes.
Mm-hmm.
50 cents a piece, baby.
Actually, those Island of Blood mortar things are selling for about $15 each on eBay because that kit's not there anymore. I just checked.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's something I haven't looked at in a while. Well, let me say this: when I bought all my Globadiers, I bought them all for $1 a piece.
What I ended up doing is I took some green stuff, rolled it up into a ball, and stuck it under a clan rat's fist. That's a Globadier.
I like that solution too. It's original. It's good. Make it happen, Captain.
They look terrible, but whatever. Scryer acolytes are terrible.
Des, I know you love Scryer.
Yep. I'm not going to give away any of my secrets just in case I show up to the boys with them. But
Ooh, I want to see. I want to see you at the boys. I'll be there.
Yep. I don't know. Paul, I can't believe you gave him a 1 after we played Scryer so many times.
I gave him a 2.
Oh, I thought you said 1.
Oh God, no. No. I've had far too many mortal wounds dumped on me by those motherfuckers to ever say they're a 1.
Yeah, I mean, so earlier you guys were talking about like the limitations though of stuff like like KO, just why not make them general order, right?
Yeah, when I do Scryer, I run it as general order chaos.
Right, exactly. Like
every day of the week. Yeah.
Yeah, the better version of Skyer is booting their dumb, especially since they nerfed it in GHB 18 and removed the double damage.
They've nerfed it twice.
Yeah. So like now just make them generic chaos. Like, because you can still take all your toys, but then you can go get all the other fun toys out of the rest of Skaven. Like you can go get, you can easily put in your Deceiver and you can easily put in whatever else you need.
Yeah, Scryer, the only allegiance in the game that hurts you to use it.
GA destruction is better for Beast Claw than our allegiance abilities are.
That's probably true.
So I would say that as well. And the change so that you can't be a faction and choose GA and still keep your battle line actually hurt us.
Yeah, so you know what? Given that the allegiance abilities are so terrible, I'm gonna dump Scryer down to a 1. I'm gonna make it a 1 and a gatekeeper. Because you need to know how to bubble deploy to prevent that Goutfire Scorch from tearing into you.
Isn't that thing too expensive to feasibly run any longer?
I'm trying to make it work at 2,000. And anything less than 2,000, don't try it. But
there's a way to make it.
You basically, it's either the gas cloud or the arc spark. But the arc spark leaves you with too few bodies, so I don't know yet.
I'll say a very low 2.
Maroc, what do you think?
I appreciate your 1 because it puts it into a more correct place.
I'm gonna say 2, but that's just because like you got a really good hero in your double casting Arch Warlock. He's a little mortal wound machine.
Yep.
And just the sheer amount of like mortal wounds that the army itself can pump out is just crazy. So I'd say it's a solid 2. Against an army that's not ready for it is...
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to win.
There's a lot of armies out there right now too that have like really high armor save, but like no mortal wound protection. So like
your Eternal Star Host.
Yeah,
I'm mostly.
And, I
think there aren't a lot of armies with great armor and no mortal wound protection. They're being pushed out of the meta real fast. Like elite armies with good armor are getting blown up, for, tournament wise. I think maybe I'm exaggerating, but
a little bit because Ironjaws still do okay, and Stormcast still does okay.
Yeah, but Stormcast still does okay with a mountain of bells and whistles.
Well,
for half its army, and they still can't overcome just being elite. And
Deepkin of top 10 in the last.
Oh, fair enough.
Four major tournaments,
straight up, because they are a low model count army.
Yeah, and I mean it's been eel heavy list too. So
yeah, and like you're looking at Night Haunt too, like armies that are ignoring Rand, like it just shuts that off because of the sheer amount of fucking mortal wounds it can pump out. Like, yeah, I ignore all modifiers. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Here's D3 mortal wounds. Here's another D3 mortal wounds.
The other protection.
Damn it! Now I think I'm going to take Scryer to the boys.
I mean, the other protection against mortal wounds is having 120 guys, and that's what Night Haunt does. So I think they're resistant to rend and mortal wounds for the most part.
So what do we think about this as a gatekeeper army?
Yes.
Maybe in first edition when people were actually at least talking about playing Goutfire Scorch. But I just don't expect people to really be... I don't know.
I'm saying it's a gatekeeper because you need to understand, in order to top table, that you need to understand how to bubble deploy, and you need to be able to deal with a ton of mortal wounds, because it's going to come from more armies than just Scryer. So
that's a good point, because I mean, people are doing the same thing against Stormcast. Like, the same way you don't lose to Stormcast is the same way you don't lose to Scryer for the most part. It's dudes who pop up next to you and shit mortal wounds in your face.
If you want to call it a teaching army rather than a gatekeeper, I'd be okay with that.
A teaching point, sure.
Dez, what do you think?
Yeah, if you're not ready for them, you're screwed. But I think a good point was made that a lot of armies are doing the alpha strike like that. So not a gatekeeper.
Yeah. Joe, you think not a gatekeeper?
I would say no, not a gatekeeper. Specifically, Scryer, no, not a gatekeeper. Similar stuff to what they do that you're already prepared for, like Stormcast and stuff, are gatekeepers. So conceptually, kind of. I know that's a really complicated yes or no question answer. I'll say no.
Vince, what do you think?
No.
All right.
Man, I should have just said no. That would have been a lot more concise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brevity is the soul of wit, my friend.
Well, I don't have it.
All right. Clan Pestilence.
3 strong.
Really?
Oh, easily.
I have not seen a good Pestilence list yet.
You played 200 Plague Monks, 2 Warp, what is it? The Deep Striking Scryer allies that let you Deep Strike, and 5 Plague Priests on foot. Nothing else. Everything else is a giant pile of garbage.
I'd want to check that you can use the Warp Numbers to tunnel somebody other than Scryer.
Yeah, it's
Skaven.
It's just Skaven keyword.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you truly play like a general of a real army, where you're making these huge sacrifices for the greater good. It's like your reward for killing 40 Plague Monks is fighting against the next 40 Plague Monks 5 times in a row.
That is the way Skaven should be played, but
who's really
going to bring that list?
Damage. When you kill them, they reflect mortal wounds back. Sometimes they have rend on 6s. Your prayers are decent. Your heroes are not the linchpin of your army, so when they die, you don't give a shit. Your units are not the linchpin of your army, so when each one dies, you don't give a shit. You flood the board, making deep strikes and ambushes really difficult. Your giant pin cushions of rerolling hits and wounds, hundreds and hundreds of dice, and just throwing them at your opponent. And the people that you can't kill with like non-rending stuff, well, then you're just shitting mortal wounds at them every once in a while as well. And sometimes they can't physically reach the objectives, even if they could kill all the guys. How many armies can do 200 damage in 3 turns?
I can think of several right off the top of my head, but I guess that's not really the point.
But nobody's doing that.
Well, but nobody's doing this Pestilence list either.
So,
nobody has 200 Plague Monks.
My roommate does. But aside from him, I've personally played against this list on several occasions. It's a nightmare. It's tier 1. Or, sorry, number 3 on your list.
Yeah, I mean...
nobody is doing it and no one will do it. But we're talking about ideal versions of lists. And so, even though their Battle Tomb is a huge piece of garbage, they accidentally made Plague Monks and some of the priests good. And so this is coasting on that. And there are other things you could do, like play a Great and Clean one in there, or use a bunch of Plague Monks in Nurgle Allegiance, or whatever, what have you. But just playing more Plague Monks, it's better. It's sort of like the Witch thing.
Well, be careful now. If you start saying that Skaven are good, they're just going to get nerfed again.
Oh, that hurts me, because Skaven are one of the cooler, most creative IPs that GW has ever come up with, and it's a crying shame that they've got basically no support for going on 2 editions now of their new game.
Oh, they have the support. The support is this army is supposed to be terrible.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, so some people feel that way about destruction as well, and it is what it is, I suppose. But
I think
in the effort of moving, yeah, I'll say a strong 3. But people like that would normally play Pestilence, where they're like, I want the big plague sensor thing that the Skaven push around, and I want to use plague caw catapults as gigantic traps and stuff. Then you're just diluting the list into your opponent can be able to win turn.
Des, what do you think?
Seeing them on the table so many times has skewed my idea of it, but I've really played against lists like this, and it's terrifying. Even against my good armies and stuff. Like, I'm not talking about Beastclaw. Beastclaw couldn't beat 40 plague rats. Couldn't beat 80 plague rats, much less 200 of them. But that's not what this is about. And they completely, any mortal wounds you're doing, you overpaid. Any rend you're doing, you overpaid. Yeah, it's kind of like Night Haunt in that way. And they're decently fast with 2 deep strikes.
Des, what do you think?
But don't take my word for it.
I'm not a huge Pestilence fan to begin with. I don't know. I don't think I've ever lost a game to him. Definitely, for me, I haven't. Joe's got some interesting information there. From every time I've played Pestilence, it's just been autopilot for me. I'd say really low 2. I'll give him a 2.
Brian, what do you think?
I think that aside from his roommate there, the 98% of the Pestilence lists you're going to face are going to be terrible.
Well, yeah, but it's the same thing with Khorne, but we're going for an idea.
Yeah, this is true. But I think I'm going to give
anyway,
it.
I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm just voting, I suppose. So
no, I mean, you bring up valid points, but I think I have other agendas behind my score.
Oh,
but I'm gonna go behind 1 because I don't think I'm not gonna. I don't want to direct people to Pestilence as a thing, and I think that if you go into a tournament expecting Pestilence to be a huge threat, well, I'm sure just to be over-prepared is going to be great.
Yep. Vince, what do you think?
I agree with everything Joe said, and I rate him a 2.
Fair enough.
Is this any kind of gatekeeper army?
Absolutely not. No one would do this. Except the one guy I know.
So an AOS coach said that he almost lost to the same type of list on Warhammer TV. It gives him a very tough 2-3. They were 3-3 before GHB 18 came around.
Yeah, they did take a hit. I'll say that.
The gamers playing a drinking game, so it's everybody to drink. I drank everything.
Now my beer's gone.
Fuck it.
All right. So here is another interesting one: Slaves to Darkness.
One. Everybody, all their constituent parts are better served in literally 5 other armies.
Yeah. Ultimate ally tier, and that's kind of like their intention even. So, yeah.
They are not a standalone army. They're a fake army. They're a fake army.
How's my first army?
Fake army.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody give them anything other than a 1?
No, that's one of them. Screw it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are just they're a force that is meant to be allies.
Yep.
And I don't even know why they have real rules. I don't know what they were thinking.
It's not that they're meant to be allies. It's that they're meant to be not chaos undivided. Right? Like, if you're going to play these units, Chaos Warriors are one of the best units in the game. Okay? Like, hands down, they are freaking amazing. If you're running Chaos Warriors as part of a Slaves to Darkness army, you've done something wrong. You've gone off the track somehow here. Like, no, back up, figure out Tzeentch, Nurgle, Khorne, Whatever. Figure out what other Chaos Force these are supposed to be a part of and start playing that because they're all better.
Yeah, I've actually done this experiment. On our Start Collecting Box series, we've done Slaves to Darkness twice, I think, as slaves, and once with Destiny dice, and it's just there's no competition at all. If you have a completely slaves list, but you use the Tzeentch allegiance abilities, you will dominate with it.
Yep. One of my favorite lists. I frequently ran Fatesworn back when that was a thing. You doing that exact thing.
Yep. Right, exactly. Fatesworn
chosen battalions. Pour one out. It was worth it to get Plague Touched away.
It was. I said the same thing on the show this week. If it means getting rid of Plague Touched, I'll sacrifice my beautiful Fatesworn.
It was like a community thing. It was like we sacrifice this in the name of fun.
Yeah, I sacrificed my only Slaanesh battalion, so I don't want to hear it. Like, we made the ultimate sacrifice, our one battalion.
Steven.
Yeah, but you were, like, totally into it anyway.
That's true. That is true. It's that's exactly the masochism we're looking for.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not a
Slaanesh release does not come with models with nipple rings, I will be very disappointed.
We are in complete agreement on this. Yeah, they're not a gatekeeper. They're a 1. They're just bad.
Yeah, they're overall like one of the worst forces. I think just because they can be for other things other than Slaves to Darkness, and they're always better.
Right. If we get some kind of weird Dark Oath thing in the future, if that ever comes to pass, cool. Maybe the world will change. But for right now, that's the reality.
Yep.
I feel like if we get Dark Oath, it's not going to be Slaves to Darkness. I feel like it's going to be its own thing.
Like Slaves to Darkness will actually just go away, and it'll be Dark Oath instead.
No, I think we'll still have Slaves to Darkness, and then we'll have Dark Oath. That is a separate thing.
I like the move
wash
they're
the
going
dishes. Don't leave the
for-
stuff around.
They are centralizing these factions, and I think that's a good move.
Yeah, that is a good move.
I think I disagree with a little bit of that. I think they'll bring maybe the Knights, definitely the Warriors in, because the Warriors are a pretty iconic model in all of Warhammer Fantasy. So I think they might bring that into Dark Oath.
When you say pretty iconic, you mean literally the iconic model of Warhammer Fantasy, because that's literally the whole idea that started the thing, right?
Yeah, that's precisely what I meant.
Like it inspired the whole thing.
Yes, like that was the first model that they thought of with Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, That's what inspired the Space Marine.
Correct.
Big shoulder pad dudes.
Hero Quest came first.
It did. It did.
All right. So let's go totally off the rails into Fantasyland. Are you ready?
Sure.
Chaos Dwarfs.
Oh.
Fake army.
It's
Two trending towards 3.
2 trending towards 1. I'll say 1.
I'm going to say 2.
I don't believe they're 1, but I want to bring them down. We've been being too nice on a lot of these armies, I've come to realize. And so I want to be mean and grumpy because that's apparently my thing.
Gotcha. I'm going to give, despite the fact they're a fake army, I'm going to give them a solid 2. I agree with Brian on this one.
Despite playing them twice and only ever losing 2
as well, I think one of the big advantages of them is that nobody's read the War Scrolls.
Magma Cannons.
I have. I've been thinking about it recently.
I mean, I think if everybody's read the War Scrolls and Allegiance abilities, they have much less of an advantage as they currently have.
The new Allegiance abilities are apparently disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely really good. They're just like, I think they're compounded by nobody knows what they are. And if people knew what they were,
I got lucky in this in that our friend Rob plays Chaos Dwarves and nothing but Chaos Dwarves, and so he's gotten really good at Chaos Dwarves. He placed second in the tournament I won in. He doesn't seem to do too well at the bigger tournaments, but he will be at Du Bois with his Chaos Dwarves. He was at Nova and he went 3-2 with them.
4-2.
It may have been. It was either 3-2 or 4-1, but he did really well with them, and I expect he'll do pretty well with them at the boys too.
Nova was a 6 game, so it was probably 4-2.
I'm pretty sure it was a 14.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't think they're a gatekeeper though.
More than
tough.
7 people
I
in the world would have to own them for them to be a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's a gatekeeper in the sense that it's a very strong gun line, but yeah, you'd have to actually fight them.
I've somehow there was a guy in Milwaukee who played it. There's a guy in Madison who plays it, and I saw it, and I almost played against an Adepticon before repairings. Like I actually have seen it. I've seen more Chaos Dwarves than Wanderers, Dispossessed, and all the other generic order factions played as a real faction put together. I know this is the definition of anecdotal, but for whatever reason, I've seen a lot of them. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen elk in my life. I don't expect to run into them on a daily basis.
Sure.
You know, like
I can tell you, if you come into the boys, expect Chaos Dwarves.
God, it's just I'm too soft for this. I got to say 2 because that's really where they should be at.
Yeah, I think 2 is probably the correct number.
I was cruel when I was saying 1. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school in the heroin capital of America, and I never saw a heroin needle, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. So I'm going to go with solid 2 on.
But clearly, they're not gatekeepers. I mean, come on.
No, that's yeah. Absolutely.
No, what I would say is that the Chaos Dwarves played well is the wild card in the tournament that you have to watch out for. Not a gatekeeper. It's just something out of left field that you have to be prepared for mentally.
Yep.
That's fair.
All right. So my last selection here that we have out of the Chaos Grand Alliance, something that does not have its own allegiance abilities, but General Skaven.
Solid 2 all day, and will be a 3 once they get their book. Long may the Horned Rat be praised.
Yep.
They have the most diverse selection of potential units in the game. They have every ability you can want. They have solid spellcasters. They have mortal wounds. They have mobility. They have ambush. They have things. What's that?
Missing the one thing that Skaven don't have: the ability to win.
I mean, I don't. Again, I don't buy that. That's true. That is to say, like, that's why I'm giving them a 2. Like, they're not a bad army. They're an incredibly diverse and quality force from which good armies can be made. Will they take tournaments?
No, but 2 is supposed to be like you're a 3-2 army, right? Like, middle of the pack. You can get more wins than losses if you're good. I think that's where
I would give Skaven a 2 and 3, not a 3 and 2.
Was that a 1 though?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to split hairs.
Yeah.
Like I think on the system he's created, there's no way they're a 1. It's just not in the cards, given the way that other things have been rated.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Joe, what do you think?
And they're super fun to play.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
Oh, there are 2, easy. I mean,
Thanquil and Storm Fiends, and Jezels. If you can find a list that makes that work, please let me know.
And the Deceiver. Don't forget.
Anybody think they are a gatekeeper?
No.
Again, just not enough of not enough people run them. That's one of the problems. I really feel like Skaven could be, if there was a concerted amount of effort put into it, they could be like your next Order Draconis. Nothing that great shifted around Order Draconis. The basic list has been sitting there for a while, and then people kind of figured some stuff out. Every so often, people stop relying on innate heuristics and existing wisdom and actually try some new lists and go. And once in a while, there's 10 bad ideas or 100 bad ideas, but one of them actually breaks out. And there's a good list in Skaven, or 10 good lists, but there's not enough people finding the 1,000 bad ways to invent the light bulb.
I would go as far as to say that it's much more common than people tend to think. Is just like trying something that everyone thinks is bad. Like, look at chat. Like, chat's giving me shit for thinking Pestilence is 3, right? They've never played against a Pestilence list like that. I think one guy said he did, but, kind of listening to podcasts and looking at tier lists and stuff, it's different than playing stuff on the table. Yep. And it's worth trying a lot of the time. The game is, the game has a lot of unexplored territory creatively in army lists.
Yep.
And, not even to say, like, who knows what all that Skaven does? Basically no one. So, like, anyone you play is not going to know what your stuff does. That's a huge advantage. To say nothing of the battle plan or anything like that. Like, what is Skitter Leap? What is this guy? Like,
sure.
It's...
They flood bodies. They're just good all over the place.
It's a big strength.
I am versed in all of the bullshit because of Dez. And that is really the exclusive reason that... I think Skaven have an awful lot of potential. And they are, much like Beastmen, I think they're just like a book away from being like top tier, top tables.
Exactly.
There's too much stuff in a Skaven army to take, and there's no battalions anymore. And I think that is where it falls flat.
The one or two battalions that are good are too expensive to take.
Doom, I'm looking at your comments. Don't worry, buddy. I'm agreeing. Solid 2, trending toward 3.
Yeah,
I got your back, Doom.
Everyone thought. I thought.
I don't want to stop yelling at your screen. Don't have a coronary down in Australia.
Hey, you should keep yelling at the screen, except do it on our show.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, really, like, you have the link, Doom. You can feel free to click that link and join the chat anytime you'd like.
Also, I don't think anyone was disagreeing with him. I think everybody said 2, right?
Yeah. I think that was, it was uniform.
We're in agreement here.
Across the board. Everybody agrees. Skaven are solid. They're just not a consistent top table contender.
Right. Solid, but not competitive.
Battle Shock makes it a little tough. No battalions. That's about it.
They're just missing like 1 or 2 synergies, and Allegiance ability is worth a damn, really.
Yeah,
I don't think we need new models. I just think that Clan Rats should be battle line through all Skaven. Storm Fiends should be available through all Skaven, and just please bring back Tretch, Craventail, and the Verminous Battalion, and I'll be happy.
You want to see Tretch come back, Paul?
Go fuck yourself.
I mean, I had that list. I ran Tretch, that Verminous Battalion, and Sail when I still can, and it was a beautiful thing. But I can't.
It was like exactly what Dez pulled for so fucking long, and I just wanted to like put him through walls because of it.
More lightning cannons everywhere, gutter runners popping in. It's fun.
Yeah, just like piles and piles of bullshit. Keep loading it on. It's all not legal anymore. Enjoy that.
Even the Screaming Bell was fun. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they need to make some way, like some weird corner case to make the Screaming Bell actually be able to roll a 13 somehow.
Automatically win?
Yeah.
Sure. If you have 5 Vermin Lords within an inch of it, then you get +1 to your roll.
I'm in.
Like they just have to make some dumb, ridiculous rule that, like, if you pull this off, like, fucking good for you. Like,
opponent army outnumbers you.
That's the only problem with them putting in jokes, is that then people want jokes to be real.
Yes.
Wasn't that the big problem with Age of Sigmar when it came out? Is everybody hated the jokes and all the war scrolls?
Yeah,
well,
those
I mean,
completely stupid.
And then it's the one joke that like persists.
Sure. Yeah, that's because rats ringing bells are funny, and they always should be funny.
Yes.
But yes, they're a good army with lots of good synergies, lots of good power pairs, lots of good capabilities. They can do everything you want to do in an army and more. They have one of the deepest model ranges still available. Just bring them back together in some way, give them some kind of Beast of Chaos style book, and boom, you're at a 3 all day and all night without any kind of work. They'll be a solid 3 top to bottom.
Yeah, just like we did with Death.
Absolutely.
Legions of the Horned Rat.
What do we think of Grand Alliance Death? Not Legions of Nagash, just the general Grand Alliance Death.
Is it possible to give a who gives a hoot because it's an irrelevant thing? Like that doesn't exist.
It's straight up irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah, there is no such thing. Legions of Nagash is death.
Yeah.
Basically, at this point, if you introduce like 5 new death factions, I'll tell you that okay, General Alliance Death is a thing. But the 4 units you can't take in Legions of Nagash right now don't make it a relevant choice. Like it's not a thing.
Just ones across the board, not a gatekeeper. Like fuck it, this doesn't even exist.
I wouldn't even call it a thing.
It's an illusionary army.
I would have an asterisk next to it and be like, see Legions of Nagash below.
Right.
Yeah.
The only time I would use it is
made out of this whole thing was that they basically just made Legions of Nagash Grand Alliance Death.
with the exception of Flesh Eater Courts, and that's when I would consider using Grand Alliance Death, is if you wanted half your army to be Crypt Horrors and half your army to be skeletons. Then you use Grand Alliance Death.
Well, then I would encourage you to go to a hospital for the head injury that you received that made you think that was a fucking good idea. But yeah, don't do that. Like Legions of Nagash, Flesh Eater Courts are bad.
We'll get there.
Getting concussions.
Yeah, you're spoilers.
hey. We have no idea how good Legions of Nagash will be until we get to it.
That's right.
1 second.
Yep, ready? Like Legions of Nagash.
3, obvious 3.
3.
Yep, 3.
3s across the board. Like anybody have any
is
doubt
like
is 3.
Legions of Nagash
and Gatekeeper.
It's like Asia, okay? It's big. There's China and Russia. Both of them are there, right? India's there too. It's huge. Legion of Blood is way different than Legion of Sacrament.
Don't forget Mongolia and Korea and Taiwan.
Well, I'm going to have to take your word on that.
Cambodia.
No, like I think we should
almost
break it down by Legion, I think. Like Grand Host, Legion of Blood, Legion of Sacrament, Legion of Night.
Yeah, if it wasn't 1 o'clock in the morning, I would agree with you. Because the Grand Host is, in my opinion, wow, I can't even say the Grand Host is the best because Legion of Blood is really good. But I mean, let's just assume that if you're talking about top tables, you're talking about Nagash himself. So you'd have to go with Grand Host.
Sure, Grand Host 3, obviously. It's like the second best army in the game. I mean, clearly.
I mean, Nagash himself is an utter powerhouse that gatekeeps all day. He is the gatekeeper. Call him St. Peter, baby, because he's checking you in. Okay, like he is the thing you've got to deal with. Every time you will see him, he's going to be on like 15 tables at a 70-person tournament. So like you almost statistically will play him, and he will straight end your day and certain lists. He will trap jaw. That's it. Your list is dead.
Yeah, I wish I could figure out how to play him that good.
Well, we don't have a lot of data yet, but he is the most played army is Legions of Nagash. It's more played than Stormcast. It's more played than Khorne.
Yeah,
now, that's kind of cheating because it's extremely good right now, and it features all 4 of the legions in it. So if you had any death stuff besides Flesh Eater and New Night Haunt,
there's also Soulblight.
Yeah, there's Soulblight.
It exists.
And it at least has the decency to make Blood Knight's battle line in it, so I'll give it that.
Yep.
Which Legions of Blood does not do. But yeah, so you're definitely going to see it and you're going to play against it. And you have to deal with being completely oppressed and shut down in the magic phase entirely. And you're going to need to be able to deal with massive regiments of skeleton warriors that will...
at this point, it's not skeletons, it's going to be the chain rasps.
Or it's going to be 15 direwolves and 60 Grimghast Reapers, but you're going to have to deal with some of the best hordes in the entire game. Half of them fly, half of them do more damage in our battle line, or less damage in battle line. And you're going to have to deal with Nagash and stuff like Dance Macabre and 3 different amazing debuffs that are going to land upon your guys. If your dudes can't deal with -1 to hit, you're done. If you can't do 40 damage to Battle Shock immune skeletons, If you can't,
and then camp their graveyards so they can't bring them back.
In on graveyards so that they can't get all 40 back immediately. If you're running unit sizes that are larger than 5, so the Grimghast Reapers get to reroll all hits and chop you up. If there's a lot of terrain on the table and all their guys fly. If you can't kill an 800-point centerpiece that laughs at mortal wounds, which is the normal way you kill big centerpiece models, he dies to like Ren 2 shooting. And Ren 2 shooting kind of sucks now. And so metagame-wise, Nagash got a bump from the meta shifting away from shooting. And so you're just going to need to figure out an answer to the problem of how do I deal with Nagash plus 100 of the best dudes. And as it happens, it looks like people are kind of struggling to figure that out. So yeah, Gatekeeper and Hard 3.
Next.
Next.
In the interest of time, next, I guess.
Night Haunt.
3.
Yeah, I think 3. Even though playing Night Haunt stuff in Grand Host is just better, I feel that Night Haunt is still very strong. It basically does all the things you want to do in the game. You want to have hordes. You want to make your opponent overspend for all their guys. You want to fly. You want to have a diverse cast of heroes that are all spread out in different places so that if 1 or 2 die, like it's okay.
Allegiance abilities that are worth a damn.
Yeah, deep striking with half your guys. Really good on charges. They just kind of check all the boxes. Tons of magic in cool ways. Lots of mortal wounds that are peppered throughout all the stuff. You know, they're kind of like the, hey, I want to be good at the game and play dudes who look awesome. All right.
And if I can speak for Merrick, well, he's not here anymore, the Night Haunt are really popular aesthetically. You're going to see them.
They're also a fast paint job aesthetically, right? Which is a huge advantage.
Anybody not saying 3 on Night Haunt?
Yeah, I mean, they feel they're a weaker 3 than LON, but they're still a 3.
Yeah. And they're part of the reason why LON is so strong. So they got to get credit for that.
Give a 2 from somebody so that they're down 1. Because, yeah, they're not as strong as Legions.
I'll fall on the 2 because, honestly, I was floating near a 2 anyway, so mark me as a 2.
Totally fair, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really just a 2 because Legions of the Gash is so much better in ally than N. Like, there's no reason to run Night Haunt on its own.
I assume you
mean with that statement.
I assume you mean ally them in, but nonetheless, I think they can stand alone as their own army, but I'm still going to.
Gatekeeper as just Night Haunt.
Yeah, I think so. I think you'll see a lot of it. They're very popular. You know, the Stormcast versus Night Haunt thing was really popular. The models look gorgeous.
This is your opportunity to figure out how you're going to deal with an army that doesn't care about your rend.
Yeah,
and it flies.
And it flies, and it's easy to give you -1 to hit buffs. It can pop up anywhere. It can wipe out units on a charge if they roll a 9. So
it is Stormcast Eternals, only better in every way. As an army that can half deep strike and just came out.
All right, what do we think about Flesh Eater Courts?
I'll give them a 2.
There's a ton of untapped creativity here. I think people were afraid of it because it's been sort of like bottom of the barrel for so long. And so I don't even know. I know it did well in Nova, but that pack was skewed towards Monster Mash, so I just considered the entire Nova tournament to be not useful for the most part.
Flesh Eater Courts was really good. They took a bit of a hit when the battalion points increased, and then they increased again. I think they are strong, but if you're playing Death, that's not really the way to go unless you just really like the aesthetic.
Well, there's something to be said for that, you know. I mean, let's say they're at 2. That's probably maybe that's where you want to be, because if you're playing the best army, they're next on the chopping block, man. Like, something's going to happen to those Grimghast Reapers, right? Something might happen to Nagash. If you're playing a tier 2 with all the right tools, and you think you can get creative with the list, but you're like safe from nerfs, I think that's a pretty good place to sit. I don't know if they're 2 because I haven't delved into their stuff, and I haven't seen anybody really push creative line in the lists and really like go all in on summoning and kind of see what that looks like. I know dude played Monster Mash at Nova, but you know, I don't know. I guess I'll say 2 with a question mark because I plead the 5th.
Yeah, I give them a 2 at best.
Yeah.
I've played against them and just like they're just not anywhere near
that Legion does. Yeah. Not a gatekeeper.
Not a gatekeeper. No, you will. People will be like, "So what does this do now?" And then you'll have to have a big conversation with them about it.
Yeah. Des,
will be like, "Oh no, they're still bad. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get this guy." You know.
Des, you got a rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna say. I think there are a couple lists that could surprise people, but definitely 2 and not a gatekeeper.
Vince, what do you think?
2, no GK.
But if they're anything close to how they were in first edition, then 1.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I almost lean towards 1.
They were fighting for the worst army in the game in 1. So
yeah,
and you know they seem a lot better. Who knows how much better? I guess Flesh Eater players. Comment below. Play Flesh Eater courts. Tell us how you smash that local tournament.
And while you're smashing that local tournament, smash that like button. There you go.
Pow.
Got to do your calls to action.
Smash that dislike button because I am telling you that army's terrible.
It's your boy, Paul Conti here.
You got to work on your calls to action, Paul. Jeez, don't you know how to build engagement?
I mean, Radio Free Hammer Hall. Sorry, no real names.
Yeah.
Rep the brand.
Yeah. Rep the brand. Radio Free Hammer Hall. Fuck Flesh Eater carts.
That's
Soul Blight.
I don't even have Soul Blight in my list because
Yeah.
do they even have Allegiance abilities of their own anymore?
They do, and they are relevant enough to merit a 2, in my opinion. I've faced an avid Soul Blight fan, and he can come up with a list that's going to give you second thoughts. It's not as good as Night Haunt, so it's not as good as Legions. I think it's probably a little better than Flesh Eater Courts. But again, 2, no gatekeeper on that.
Compare to me Legion of Blood and Soul Blight. Because that's probably the best comparison. Which one?
Soul Blight has the mobility. So you can give your guy +2 inches and fly. And there are a couple other tricks that can make it. So, for instance, if you take Vordry plus Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon and then some Blood Knights, it can get a little hairy. But really, you take Soul Blight for the mobility, and you take Blood for the whatever Blood gives you.
Damage.
Yeah,
like an extra attack for all your dudes.
Or no, wait. That's Legion of the Night. What does Legion of Blood even do?
+1 attack on Vampire.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
All their weapons.
And -1
No grave
reorder.
sites and shit like that. So
All right. So I think we're all set with death, correct?
Yeah.
We are in the home stretch. Grand Alliance Destruction. What do we think?
let's give them a fair shake, even though it's closing in on the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
They've been downtrodden enough in the real game.
They don't need us to skip them, too.
Yeah. GA Destruction.
I think it's still a solid 2, considering even because once you're talking about GA Destruction, you're talking about mixing and matching the best of the best. So you can bring in the Stonehorn, you can bring in the Thunder Tusks, as well as the Magma Dragon, and then just whatever else you need to fill out the lists. I think that's solid.
Yeah, double Magma Dragon, Stonehorn, a million Grots man did pretty well. I think in 2 tournaments recently in the Destruction WhatsApp. Even though his conversion on the Stonehorn is a personal insult to my ancestors as a Beast Call player because he made it a sheep. And that is appropriation at its worst. And so I can't say that it's a 3, so I'll say 2 because out of spite.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Destruction a 3.
You had me at Magma Dragon, so I'm with Brian on this one. I'll go. I'm what he said. Seconded.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just filled with spite.
Oh, that's fair.
Guys, what do you think?
2. Give it a 2.
It's just like no way a gatekeeper, correct?
No.
You gotta know how to deal with a magma dragon. A
One guy in the world does that, as far as I can see. Possibly 2. So no, you don't have to worry about playing against it, I don't think.
All right. This one I know is near and dear to somebody's heart in this this discussion.
I have a lot of opinions about this. Beastlaw, you are an ally faction. You can use a Frostlord on Stonehorn in like Grand Alliance to do something. But when you're talking about playing the actual faction Beastclaw, you're looking at a Thunder Tusk like on paper and you're like, oh, 6 mortal wounds, this thing's good. You know. But
it's the rest of the faction that has to fill it out that's terrible.
Considering what it costs, and after taking 3 damage, it doesn't do that anymore. So it's like a 12 wound monster that has like a phantom 5 wounds, unless you're rolling some lucky 4-up heal rolls if it's still alive. You know, Frostlord on Stonehorn is pretty good in a vacuum with a realm artifact, without it not. But when it comes to like actually playing the game Age of Sigmar and capturing objectives and scoring points, and having wizards or dudes with artifacts to like camp out on a point, you're just not gonna get it done. And against competent players with decent lists at a real tournament, and you're playing like Beastclaw Raiders, 1.
I would agree with a 1 for Beastclaw.
1 all day. I wish it wasn't true so, but it just is. They're the worst trap army too, because they're the worst experience for like new players who run face first into that 6 mortal wounds, and they're like, "Oh, these guys are so amazing," and then they learn.
Yeah,
and then they learn, and it's unfortunate. Yeah. 1.
Des, what do you think?
Yeah, I have to say 1. They're so fun too. Oh.
Hobby wise, they're amazing, and I'll defend them forever. Awesome conversion opportunities.
Yeah, and you only got to paint like 12 models. What a deal.
You can spend hero quality paint jobs on every model. They'll look awesome.
I still think it'd be fun to convert a whole army of them, but like Grots driving monster trucks.
See, now we're in this appropriation stuff again. I don't care for that. But do what you want.
Brian,
and they're very fun to play until you start rolling 4-up attacks.
My vote will depend on what are you going to give them, Paul?
I'm giving them a 1.
All right, then I'm going to give them a 2. Because I agree. I agree with all of your 1s, but they're a little bit better than that.
They're better than Devoted, right? So
sure.
Give them some.
So with there are 5 of us here. You're all giving them 1s. I'm giving a 2. They will come out as 1.2. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
You know, though, to be fair, Joe, I'm not sure that Devoted to Sigmar don't house BCR. Like, they've got the bodies to just throw 1 damage attacks
at put a bunch of bodies on the table. Yeah, I should be more careful with my throwaway comments.
And they have like some overlapping 6-up wards against even your mortal wounds on the way in. So
yeah, man, when your Thunder Tusk is doing like 4 mortal wounds, you are not paying good 360 points for that, my friend.
And then come the lunatics with the flails, and that's it for that guy.
Yeah, good point.
And not a gatekeeper.
Yeah, definitely not.
No, they're a buy. When your opponent's setting them up across the table, you're like, ooh, I'll have time to get a pizza at the fucking concession stand after I smash this guy. It's gonna be great.
Bone splitters.
I don't have enough information on this one. I don't even know.
They are
I've never
awesome.
faced one. I've never looked at one. I've heard of this thing called a cunning rock. I have no idea what it does.
It costs a lot of points now, but is like you can run one now. You can still do it. It's just very expensive.
They can still be a 3 too, but you have to play like 4 hours
out of magic and cool synergies, lots of bodies. Some of their melee stuff is cheaper now, so it's like worth playing.
Yep.
Big stabbas will take down monsters with the greatest of ease, and your opponent will underestimate them all the time. I've seen people do good work with a rogue idol in there, paradoxically, since they're so anti-monster. That possibly the best list includes a rogue idol, but whatever. And that, although definitely make your own, because the Forgehold one is the worst model I've ever seen for its cost. It's a bunch of styrofoam stacked on top of itself, or whatever. I don't know. They're not too populous of an army. Maybe I'll say 2, but that might be underselling them. I say 2.
2. They have like after the last change, I think they fell from a 3 to a 2.
Yeah.
I will give them a high 2. I don't want to insult any Bone Splitters players. They're a scary army. I will also say they're a 2 that's a gatekeeper in the way of like they do between things like big stabbas, which will just blow your. I agree, they'll just blow your monsters off the table, and things like the ability to put 400 arrows in the air in the first turn of the game or first 2 turns of the game. Whatever. I mean that's a thing you've got to understand. It's really good to understand what Bone Splitter's movement capabilities are, which are very good, and their shooting capabilities are, which are very good, and their weaknesses, which is blowing their heroes off the table, and their whole army has like a 6-up save.
Yeah. But it will always be a 6-up save.
Indeed.
And they get a 6-up damage prevention on top of that. And, sniping heroes became a little harder in this edition.
Sure.
Although really people just kind of switched to magic to do that, but the range is shorter anyway. So yeah, I agree 2.
Very strong 2, for sure.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think?
I'll go with the average in 2.
Yeah, a manly 2.
Gatekeeper?
Sure. Not too many people play them, but,
You have to know about it because it
Sounds like more like a learning army, like the Scryer. Is that if you can deal with the gun line and you can deal with hordes, you'll be fine.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
you're going to need to respect the quality of quantity of attacks.
Right. I mean, yeah, you got 400 arrows, but they're hitting on 5s. So, I mean, yes, quantity has its own quality, as Napoleon says, but still.
Yeah. Especially in this edition.
Yeah. All right. Moving along. Iron Jaws.
2.
Fun out of fun.
Mm-hmm. What's the cut for 3? You have to be like tops.
Yeah, that's
like statistically, it's just pretty evident they're not there, but they are a very high 2. Like,
yeah,
they're just very limited right now as far as what they have. I mean, the whole army has like 7 units. They have ridiculously great interactions with command points.
Yes.
And
buffs.
And buffs. By the way, that mega boss on foot, another awesome sort of judgment wielder. 6 attack base dude who can just be humped with +1s everywhere. Like he can just have all the channers go like, "Hey, buddy, do D6 on 3s." Okay, I'll do it.
I think that the mega boss on foot is that, and the Arch Warlock from Scryer are the best 140 point models in the game.
I would absolutely second that belief.
Absolutely.
That mega boss is awesome.
Yep.
The problem is Iron Jaws are a one-trick pony. It's a great trick, and they are one of the best at that trick, but it's still just one trick.
And there are other armies who do it better.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody else they have a quality and simultaneous quantity of attacks that only Khorne can match, but they do chaff better than Khorne. Pigs are just beyond the best. They're maybe one of the best units in the game for speaking in the alignment of role to value,
what their job is.
What their job is, yes.
Stuff they can absorb,
especially now at 140 points.
Yep.
And I actually think that our Ard boys may be undercosted right now. I don't know why they decreased them to 160. I think they were fine at 180.
Yeah, they definitely got a lot more interesting. And you can so we mentioned earlier, since this conversation happened earlier, about the first turn charge. Like if you want to alpha across the table, you can have 50 Ard boys into your opponent turn 1 without working for it. It is ridiculously easy.
And sometimes when they die, you can bring them back.
Right. So like if you want to run the weird Ardfist thing, okay.
You probably don't, but it's a
it's a neat trick to get like to just alpha 50 Ardboys into someone's face, see what they kill, let them all die off, and then call them back.
Yep.
Like round 3.
And you can bring them right back onto the front lines real quick.
Yeah. So, but all that being said, they're still just a 2. Like when I took them to NashCon, I had a very easy time dealing with 4 of my opponents with like I walked over the top of, you know, most everyone, but there was a Nagash list and I was just like, and it was Scorched Earth. And I was just like, well, okay, I lose. You know, like it's just okay, I can't beat this. Like I had the capability is not within Iron Jaws to deal with your 120 bodies and ultimate spellcaster where you get to sit on your points and not move.
I think that the Iron Jaw's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness in the fact that they aren't a horde army, but they aren't an elite army. They're halfway in between. And so they don't really have the bodies in order to cover a whole table. And they don't really have the ability to take a punch, especially a mortal wound punch, and still put it back. So I think they got better in this edition with the command point stacking thing. But I still, like Vince says, there's no way an Iron Jaws, without incredible luck, gets on a top table. But I think it's a pretty solid gatekeeper because you're going to see a lot of Iron Jaws armies because there are some of the best sculpts in the game, and they're easy and cheap to collect. You can get an Iron Jaws army for $600, and they're fun. A lot of people have them.
Yeah, and if you look at it's funny too, you mentioned that, Brian, because if you look at the LLV data, Iron Jaws had the biggest representation, the biggest outsized representation, right? They were the lowest winning, highest percentage represented army. Does that make sense? Like, you get what I mean? Like, the lowest.
They're amazing and they're fun. So people want to play them.
Because your initial point is well taken, Joe. Like, yeah, you might not win your games, but you will have fun every game. I've had, I don't know, maybe one bad game with my Iron Jaws ever. They're the definition of fun.
Yeah. Yep. And that's something you really do want as an army that's not exactly top. Like, if you're going to lose, you might as well really enjoy yourself. And that actually is a good selling point.
Yeah, if I know I'm going to lose, I'm just going to take Skaven.
Well, sure. And a lot of their abilities are tied to rolling random dice after you've spent a resource, which is annoying. But like you're rolling your hero phase movement and only on a 6 something happens, but what does happen is amazing.
And then it only happens on your turn.
Yeah, and they wear off at end of turn instead of until your next hero phase.
Which is like the massive penalty to the army. God, that is the worst.
They can't grind, which is what they really should be all about, is grinding.
Yep.
You're disadvantaged in the grind on your opponent's turn. Plus, you have to roll for the WoW, which is stupid. You're spending a command point. You should get your candy. You should get your ride on the donkey.
I mean, if you're playing Iron Jaws worth your salt, you don't miss a WoW. Because you've just stacked up enough dumb hanger-on heroes who are like running around behind, like, I'm a unit too. Yeah. I count.
A unit. He's got his bones in the air.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm participating.
So when you're on a roll, you're on a super bonus roll with them, which is a cool thing. They're a 2, but roll a die, and on a 6, they're a 3.
Yeah. The Mega Boss on Maw Crusher should also be mentioned here as one of the most fun models in the game to play, as you can just like smash nearly anything off the table.
I don't think he needs to be slightly more powerful, in my opinion.
He needs to be slightly more powerful.
Hey, I'm not going to fight you on it.
Sure, yeah, of course.
I'll take it.
Buff something destructions. Hell yeah, let's go.
I've compared him to the Frost Lord on Stonehorn because in my mind they serve about the same purpose. And he just
flies and absorbs buffs. He's way better, and he has a command ability that matters.
I just think side by side, you put them together, the Stonehorn comes out on top.
Oh man, not in any world I've been through. Maybe it's just my Mega Boss, and maybe it's just in Iron Suns when he has an extra wound and an extra attack, because that's how I tended to run him. But that guy toppled other heroes. Like it was like I would just keep a running list of the enemy monsters I had creamed off the table Like in one single game, I plowed through 3 Bloodthirsters in a manner of 2 turns. I hop skipped with a. What's
Like,
that?
I've never had that kind of luck. It's just because he's such a fire magnet that, I mean, if the dice are unlucky, he doesn't last 2 turns.
Yeah, sure. He's often a suicide bomb, right?
Yeah.
But again, Iron Sun's helps with that.
Suicide bomb, and that's
yes,
it automatically makes him better than Frostlord. And like, even though I'm having damage characteristics, a Maw Crusher will kill me from full if it goes first on the Iron Jaw's turn. And a Frostlord would have to get insanely lucky to kill a Maw Crusher in 1 combat round.
Not to mention the fact that now with stacking Maws, as long as you have, if you can fire off his command ability multiple times, which realistically any Iron Sun's army starts with 3 command points, when it becomes their turn 1. I mean, what? And like, if you're not, like, you could easily be at +3 to +6 attacks. So, my God.
Yes, that's a different story altogether.
Yeah, 7 to 10, like...
Oh, no, that's the normal story.
Yeah, like 7 to 10 hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, possibly with some kind of, like, maybe a reroll 1, depending on what you picked. Maybe -2 rend 3 damage attacks. Splats most things it hits, and that's just one of your attack profiles.
Yeah. If anything, his problem is that he usually kills someone before he's done attacking with all his weapons, and so he's a little sad. You didn't even get to hit him with
Are we all in agreement on Iron Jaws that there are 2 and a Gatekeeper?
I'm sorry, I thought this was just Vince talks about Iron Jaws hour. Is it not?
Yeah, I thought this was fun time. Yeah, 2 Gatekeeper, of course.
Yeah. Yes. You can just put a book in front of your giant erection for a minute and give us some numbers.
2 Gatekeeper.
Check. Got it. I think we are all in agreement on that. All right, so just a couple of destruction armies. Let's do rapid fire here.
Moon Clan.
Finish this out. Destruction armies that don't have allegiance abilities. Moon Clan.
2.
1.
I thought this was rapid fire. Should I be explaining myself? Nah.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Load. Go ahead.
Vince?
Hold on.
Yeah, that's it. 1, 2,
Was
1.
that a spill?
I was trying to find a coin to flip because I've got low 1, high 2, but I have no change in my pocket. Drat it all.
Call it heads or tails.
All right, go. Heads. Heads is 2.
Nope, got tails.
0-1. Sorry, Moon Clan. Fate's decided.
Yes.
I love Moon Clan. They're my favorite army to paint. I love to paint them, but I've had 0% luck with them. I have 1.
And definitely not a Gatekeeper of any type in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Well, you're gonna, if you ever play against Grand Alliance Destruction, which you probably won't, you'll see a lot of Moon Clan Grots as their battle line.
Yeah.
So you need to know what, Maniacs or whatever, Netters and stuff. But yeah, not a Gatekeeper, I guess.
Right. Gutbusters.
It just wouldn't be fair to talk about Doom and Darkness's in Lightning format since he had to deal with the wife and kids. 2.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a 2. Like, they have pretty interesting units. Like, they have some still quite scary units. They can generate sort of enough bodies to matter. They're not BCR limited, right?
Yeah, there's really something to be said about a unit of 9 ogres or lead belchers. It's just, that's fierce.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 ogres is 46 wounds, right?
Yeah, they're 4 each.
Or 48?
48, yeah.
And they're rerolling all failed hits with those damage 2 attacks and rerolling ones.
Their 3 different icons are amazing.
Yeah, they do good damage. And never mind the fact that there's 60 Battle Shock immune Grots screening for them. for the whole game until the tyrant dies. And so they got the chaff, they got heavy hitters that can reach over the top of stuff. They got butchers whose buffs are frustratingly random, but potentially good. They just don't have a book.
Yeah, it should also be stated that like the ogre bulls are in the best position to fight something like Nighthaunt because they're wasting nothing on Rend.
Yeah,
They're all just high damage hits, right? So it's, you know, whatever. You ignore Rend, cool. I didn't bring that. A punch 2 ghost dead.
So solid 2s across the board, not a gatekeeper.
No, you're never going to see it.
You will not see it.
Unless you're playing in the Adelaide area of Southern Australia. In
right,
which case you will see it regularly.
Greenskins.
0.
Their Mega Boss is, whatever it's called, is a decent ally sometimes for Iron Jaws, I guess.
Yeah, because it's a WOG that doesn't need a dice roll.
So 1.
1.
Yep, 1.
The banner guy is pretty good to bring into an Iron Jaws army as an ally.
Okay.
Not for 140 points. You'd rather have the one on you'd rather have the attack profile one. It's almost as good as the Mega Boss.
I'd say the Wyvern isn't bad either. That's another, as an ally, that's another +1 attack without having to roll for a wall.
Yeah, but like arguable allies for
Greenskins Allegiance don't.
Exactly. The big problem with any allies in Iron Jaws is it just dilutes the number of Iron Jaws units. Like, ideally, they want only Iron Jaws, and they want to all be within, you know, a relatively close proximity of each other. You need to Iron Jaws fight like the solar system, and the Mega Boss is the sun. They all orbit around him. You don't want a Pluto in there just messing everything up.
Right? Sometimes it's like a binary star system. That's fun too.
Indeed.
Yep.
But I mean, if you want to play orcs, Iron Jaws look cooler, and that's where it starts and ends. Also, they're more fun.
All right, and then our my final selection out of this, Git Mob Grots.
They
Git Mob Grots.
They're worse than Moon Clan, but not by too terribly much. I've never seen them. I don't know much about them.
Yeah.
So
0.
Everybody want to give them a 2.
Nope.
I almost have to recuse myself. This is like one of the few armies I know of like absolutely nothing about. So
you know, I swear,
for a good reason.
I've set the precedent. You can talk as much as you want about things you know nothing about.
Git Mob Grots will be great once the Grot book comes out, maybe, and they're all bundled up into the same Christmas present. I don't know.
I would almost put $50 down right now that if a Goblin book comes out, they still won't be any good.
Might be right.
Well, there you heard it here first. Hot takes. I don't know. I gave Moon Clan a 2, so I'll give Git Mob a 1 just to cause some discussion in the comments about it. Local Git Mob player who crushes all his tournaments. Tell me why I'm wrong.
All right, so let's just quickly go over some overall results just for point of discussion. Ready?
Ready.
Average of armies that have new books since AOS 2.0, 2.54.
Wait, since AOS 2.0, so Nurgle doesn't count? Legion and the
like Nurgle forward.
Okay, this year, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Designed for AOS 2.
Okay.
Armies with books prior to that, but included allegiance abilities, 2.09.
Okay.
Armies with allegiance abilities from the General's Handbook only, 1.96. Armies with no allegiance abilities, 1.44. And then the Grand Alliance allegiance is 1.96.
So, I mean, it's power creep. Like, these are you can put numbers behind it now.
Well, I would like to say that this is not a bad thing in this one case, I don't think.
Yeah, also, I'm not sure I agree with that. Like, I think that's facts, not in evidence, to be honest. I don't think those numbers say that. Like, I understand the trajectory he just set on us. She just set
I mean,
us on.
yeah, that's all it is a trajectory. Because if you're playing one of the decent armies that are old, well, then that doesn't matter at all. You know?
Yeah, like when you look into the individual numbers, like, yeah, that's averaged out. Maybe we can say, okay, I can, chart my data points. But most of that's pretty obvious. Like, yeah, an army with all the trimmings is better than an army without. Okay.
But they keep coming up with new trimmings is the thing.
Good. Because I think the early stuff was boring, and I like these new things,
But at the same time, it's not like every army with trimmings is better than the last one.
Right.
Like that power creep, to say there's power creep, you'd have to say, okay, Nurgle was better than LON, and Doc was better than that, and Ideneth was better than that, and
right. Nighthaunt would have to be the best army because it was the most recent, in other words.
And that's just not the case.
Yeah.
I think that there's a couple books that got released at the correct power level. Ideneth was one of them. And I could make a case before I understood how broken it was. The original KO, when it came out and people didn't understand that you could spam mortars and Aether Chemists, it was at the right power level. But Daughters of Cain, as soon as it was as announced and after it came out, everybody understood that it was great. And it's basically, it's not cynical to say that Games Workshop is a business that's in the business of selling new models. And so the newer stuff that comes out, especially if it has model support, will be better.
I
think they want to sell anything they sell,
Yeah, like,
why don't they want to sell, like, obviously they want to sell Gutbusters because they still make them. They still put it in the store,
Yeah, so let's just go over quickly
I think the Games Workshop is a
armies.
The wormhole that doesn't need to be going down.
So our perfect 3.0s: Daughters of Cain, Seraphon.
We all remember that hot release.
Seraphon is a perfect 3.
Yeah.
I thought I gave it a 2.
Did you give it a 2?
I mean, it should have a perfect 3.
Yeah. I seem to recall giving it a 2 as an iconoclast because everyone else gave it a 3. But maybe that's a terrible reason.
It's been done before.
Yeah, so Daughters of Cain, Seraphon, and Legions of Nagash are
Seraphone's original book was like there was nothing in it, right? It was one of those that didn't have spell lores, didn't have whatever.
Pre-Sylvanas.
They got some GHB stuff, and then they were cool. Like they're the ultimate success story.
They are.
They had, and that's a combination of really good allegiance abilities, but also they had a deep enough bench, right? Like they had the capabilities in the units.
Yeah.
Well, but also we have to realize that the reason Seraphon is a 3 is essentially because of allegiance abilities and about 3 models out of a range that's almost as big as something from the Chaos or Stormcast allegiance.
Oh, I'm not going to argue that they don't have plenty of dead weight.
Sure.
But yeah, who cares?
It also means there's hope for anyone. Look at this. They got some GHB stuff, and now they're great.
Yeah.
It could happen to anybody, And you could, if I'm trying to pick a really bit, like if, Scourge Privateers got a GHB 18 thing tomorrow, they could be great. And
I mean, unlikely.
It's unlikely that they would choose to do that, but that would be power creep too, but it would be a good power creep.
Yeah, I mean,
what stuff that they currently sell would be cool or fun.
The direct answer to this question that they've when asked is do rules sell models? Is no, and I tend to believe them because models sell models. Yeah, I mean, like the coolness of the models sell the models, and as you design games, like you as the designer don't understand your own creation when you make your initial rule set and several books into it. Like it takes a long time for you as the designer of a game to actually understand what you've built.
Yeah.
And so
I would argue that they still don't understand because we're always coming up with stuff that breaks it.
Sure, which is fair. Like I
got 30 million people trying to break it, and they doesn't even matter how good their testing team is. They don't have 30 million people trying to break it or whatever. I'm just pulling a number out.
Yeah.
I think that the only way I could get behind your idea of power creep being a good thing is if they brought everybody up at the same time.
Well, I always argued that if you're going to a second edition, you should definitely do that, or you're being irresponsible a little bit. With a game as small as this.
As I said, I can't remember if it was the pre-show or in our Facebook chat group, but it's basically, I don't have a fun game unless it's a close game. And even through this discussion, you could tell that there are matchups that are just, they can't possibly be close games. And so that's bad, in my opinion.
So let me just throw out real quick, everything else other than the perfect 3-0s that was, say, 2.5 or better. Grand Alliance Order.
Yep.
Sylvaneth.
Sure.
Nurgle.
Okay.
Korn. Tzeentch. And that's it.
Even?
That all seems fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and my argument would be, I guess, this: when we say power creep, there's a
negative connotation to it. Definitely.
Right. I need to understand what you mean, perhaps, because if you're ascribing an intentional sort of malevolence to it or something, not to be overly melodramatic about it, right? Or that it's intentional, that they're saying like, oh, ha, 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 we will make this book more powerful than the last. I don't buy it, not even for a minute. If you're saying like it's sort of an unintentional thing that this new stuff that gets designed takes better advantage of the tools that they have as they better learn to explore their design space. And so almost as an emergent property is stronger because it's more coherent in the way that it tends to work. If, at the very least, even if it's not ascending to the top, we get a good army. So like take Deepkin, for example, which I don't think any of us would argue is, OP. Okay. None of us took that stance. That is a darn recent army and brand new. They had all the opportunity in the world, if they have a malevolent strategy, to be like, oh, let's make these guys redonk. We'll sell so many turtles, dude. But I mean, but that's just not what happened in any way, shape, or form. I think that as they explore these things, they hit within a range. And as they understand the game more, the range tends to be more consistent. They get more precise, as it were, in hitting that mark.
The way I envision it happening is more like, I can liken it to, if you remember, I think we're all old enough here to have the original PlayStation. But in the 4 years between the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, the games got progressively better graphics. They got progressively better mechanics, all that kind of a thing.
Yeah,
and
they got better happening programming for the platform. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So we can see that happening at Age of Sigmar. I think there's that. As Vince was explaining, that they're gaining new understanding of what they can do with the mechanics they have set in motion. But also, I think that sometimes they're a bit fanboyish of their own creations. And so they say, oh, wouldn't this be cool if, or this is supposed to be a really awesome, just solid battle line guy. And so all our battle line for the new army are going to be 4-up saves, 3s, 3s, -1, 1. Whereas if you go back to the old world, the elves, for instance, which are supposed to be the best swordsmen in the galaxy, are 4s, 4s, no rend, 1 damage. And so that's the kind of power creep that I see, is that because they're just excited about their own work, they want to make things that are cool and just a bit better. Not even compared to anything, but just a bit better. And so everything becomes better. And so you're facing an elf army from Fantasy Battle, and you're facing Idoneth Deepkin. Who do you think is going to win?
Well, I mean, if it's Order Draconis, I'm not sure about that because it's a good counterexample. But that being said, if it's like Scourge Privateers, I'm putting my money on the Deepkin. They're the masters of the oceans, baby.
Part of that excitement is one of the it's part of the charm of GW, actually. That excitement that they can't quite control in a reasonable way. So there are downsides to it, but there are upsides too. We get stuff like Slambo and guys with stupid names that are probably a little like too on the nose, or we get guys riding sharks that maybe are a little too wacky, but they're just like, they're so excited to do this stuff that they just roll with it. And so, you know, the bad part about that is when some stuff is too much, but I think a lot of that is part of the charm of it, of the game itself.
I think they could go a long way to just making some sort of template. So if you have a battle line template that's really,
I gotta assume they have that in house, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people joke about how bad their balance is and stuff, including me, because it's entertaining. It's easy to do that, you know.
It's the airline food humor of the early '90s comedy scene.
It's like going, oh, I went to Sam's Club and boy, their package sizes are huge. Let me tell you, we need ketchup containers. Am I right? And just waiting for So it's kind of like that. But I definitely agree with you that a lot of it is they're just getting better at designing stuff for their own game. They're clearly improving.
Right. And that's really
that's what I was talking about, where I said that it was a great thing, is because they're getting better at making battle tomes that are interesting. They happen to be more powerful because it tends to be that the more options you have, the better you are. You know,
yeah, well, I think the biggest problem they have going for them is the fact that, I mean, just look at this video, for instance. We've been here for 4 hours now, 5 hours, discussing
Tom was here for the first half, so
the many multitude of factions they have. And it's understandable that they want to come out with new stuff, but they almost have too many factions right now. And to have some lagging behind while some are coming up new.
That's why I'm so happy that Beastmen of Chaos came out, even though I'm not really even a fan of any of the Beastmen of Chaos stuff. Like Warherd and Brayherd, I don't care. But I'm so pleased that they came out with that book, because it means like they're willing to go back and do their laundry, like mow the lawn.
Yeah, same with
we have all these factions that have entire lines that they sell. And wouldn't it be nice if they were playable? And it's something I think they should have done a while ago. And I'm happy that, this kind of thing is in the pipeline.
Right.
There is a Skaven book in the future. There's got to be, right? Like, there's hope out there for people playing, whatever the fuck Shattered faction.
I see,
because they're doing this Beasts of Chaos thing. I hope there's more of it. I'm super happy about it.
I mean, really, I just did the quick count. We went over 39 different factions. 39.
Oof. Yeah. And we skipped probably 19.
And you have to understand that Age of Sigmar is their second game. They also have probably 39 different factions for 40K too.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's and according to Rob Symes, they're understaffed. So, I mean, there's the meme that went out that O.J. Simpson went to jail, got out, went to jail again, got out before Sisters of Battle had an updated codex.
I really wondered where that joke was going. I got to tell you, I didn't know where that was going to go.
So that when you say that there's a Skaven book coming, sure, but I'm not going to put any money on it soon.
I think new GW.
What decade is it coming out in?
I think new GW is distinct from old GW. Look at how much community outreach they're doing.
Oh yeah,
no, I'm absolutely huge.
I'm chuffed, to use their words, but
chuffed. What a gross term for being happy.
It's a great word. You shut your face. It's awesome.
I think it's amusing.
It's the dog bullocks.
Well, look, never mind the bullocks. Okay, the point is that I mean, I agree with you completely. The Beast of Chaos is a great move. Everybody will get their attention on a long enough timeline if you're just willing to wait. But we're getting lots of good and interesting stuff at the same time. I'd rather them slow play it and take their time and give me actually good stuff than them rush it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, if you buy enough armies, eventually your turn will come.
Yeah, I admit I'm speaking from a position of relative luxury here in that I have 11 armies. And so, like, you know, I'm not exactly spoiled for choice here. Like, I've always had something that I can play happily. But,
I have 1.75.
Well, play for 22 years and then you'll see how many armies you're at. But
I've played for 1 year and I'm almost at 2 armies. So it's not
so
looking.
there you go.
The end is near.
All right. Speaking of which, it's 2:00 and I got a tournament in 8 hours.
Good
oh,
luck,
you
buddy.
too? What are you doing?
I'm doing Legions of Nagash. Imagine that.
What
It's
point value?
1750, which is very weird.
Pretty good.
But I'm
You got
doing
that-
something
You got the
different
big boy
from-
himself in there?
No, I'm waiting for him to be completed. I'm trying Legions of Blood. I got my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Got some Blood Knights. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Good luck.
Good to try.
LHF, as the kids say.
But the Magma Dragon list will be there too. So,
God damn, I wish they had a Magma Dragon model that wasn't complete horseshit.
The answer is buy Bones dragons and convert them and just make them fiery dragons. They're way better. They're way bigger. And they're like $20 or $30.
Well, it's better than Smaug, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. The Bones dragons are great. They're really good models. Bones sucks for like 28 mil human-sized models, but their big monsters are awesome.
Okay, cool. Because like the only time I've seen them is in like game stores and it's all white and everything's droopy. And you don't want white and droopy.
Yeah, they're not bad. I've got 3 of them lined up for that hashtag 3magmeta. But you know, I just
are you doing that? I'm so excited. I hope you will.
I will at some point. I got to get around to painting it. I got a lot of big projects here. I'm working on this dumb thing that's in my lap because the way the world works.
Because the way the world works.
I blame.
Started making terrain, but like I'm gonna have to eventually. I don't know.
Well, I did 4 pieces of terrain this week, but this isn't terrain.
Oh,
Interesting.
keep them guessing.
There you go.
All right, kids. It is 2:00 in the morning. On the nose. I think it's time to wrap this up. It's been fun. We found some interesting data. Hopefully, it's been informative for everybody that's been watching. I have had an awful lot of gin.
No.
So I'm going to go to sleep now.
I've had an awful lot of lactose-free milk and Red Bull, so I'm gonna die.
I'm going to be up for another 2 hours painting this dumb thing. I don't know what you're doing.
I'll be up for another 7 hours video editing. Yay!
There you go. Nice.
Woo! I'm going to go to fucking bed.
Do it,
good
man.
night, everybody. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, get well soon.
We will see you all later. Have a lovely evening, everyone.